Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all back to the second half of our Corbin Russwin Distributor Workshop, virtual instructor-led training. Thank everyone for being on time. We didn't go too long on the Tuesday session. We'll try to follow up a little bit early today as well. My name's Tom Seidel. I'm your lead instructor today. We will follow the normal format. You are unable to unmute yourself if you have a question, if you'd like to add to the conversation. This is meant to be interactive, so please interact. You can also use our chat function as well. You can send a chat to the group or to me personally with a question, and we will address as necessary. We'll be here until about 3 o'clock Eastern. We will break around the top of every hour for a coffee break, and we will take an hour at noon Eastern to allow you to grab some lunch and to recharge the batteries. Within 24 hours, you will see the recording of this session posted on ASA ABLOY Academy. You can go back and review if you'd like to revisit some of the information. We'd also like you to partake in our upcoming sessions. We do have a Yale Distributor Workshop coming next week, as well as a bunch of codes and application classes and some deep dives on some of our specific products as well. They usually last about an hour in length, and we'd love for you to partake in those. You're all students on the Academy. At the end of this session today, you will be able to download your certificate of completion for the 8 hours of training that you've done for this class. And we welcome you to partake in any of the other online classes that are interesting to you. They are available to you free of charge as a customer. So let's talk about the agenda. What are we going to work on today? This morning, we're going to go through Corbin Russwin's exit device products. We will go through some features and benefits, some comparisons. We're going to go through the part number streams as well as some pricing exercises to get everyone familiar with the part number stream. We'll also talk about Corbin Russwin's multi-point lock products, as well as Corbin Russwin's access control products. We will end the morning discussing the access control products and platforms that Corbin Russwin offers. After our break, we will come back and discuss door closers, Corbin Russwin's door closers from our industrial closer to our economy type closer. Bear with me, we have one more person joining us. After we do the overview of the closers, we will do some part number streams and some pricing exercises. We will then finish the day speaking of Corbin Russwin's auxiliary locks, as well as our behavioral health products. We will have some time at the end for Q&A. Again, you can ask the questions as we go through with chat, or you can unmute yourselves, whatever works best for you, whatever you're the most comfortable with. You can also reach out to us via email, or you all have my cell phone number as well. So to get started, we're going to talk about why exit devices are used. There are reasons why exit devices exist. On this slide, I'm showing you some situations, some problems that happened. Multiple hundreds of deaths were created. And a lot of the reasons, these are 4 major tragedies that happened in the early to mid 1900s, where several hundred people were injured, hundreds of people were killed. And the main reason for a lot of these, it had to do with the way the buildings were designed, the way that the building was constructed. They had fire exits, but they had specialty hardware on it that you couldn't really easily understand how to operate. The doors swung in instead of out. They didn't have enough emergency exits for the amount of people that were in the building. And all of these things came about. They caused a change in our industry. Building codes were developed. The building codes actually break the building into fire zones to keep the fire from spreading throughout the entire building. But we also had to address the occupant safety. And we talk about NFPA 80. NFPA 80 is for openings in a building, protects the building, keeps the building into fire zones. NFPA 101 is life safety. That is survivability of the occupants in an emergency. And IBC, International Building Codes. NFPA 80 and 101 are standards. They get adopted into building codes and into standards for the end users and each specific geographical location. IBC, International Building Code, addresses both NFPA as well as life safety. Chapter 10 in IBC pretty much follows hand in hand with what NFPA 101 says. And what those code requirements, and now they're interpreted into the standards in local jurisdictions. It talks about exit requirements based on the size of the building, based on how the building is used. You have to have a certain number of exits based on the number of occupants in the building. The direction of swing for emergency exits and egress doors. No longer can you have those doors swing in. In an emergency, people would pile against those doors and the doors couldn't be opened. Fire ratings. There are different fire ratings based on location of the door and where those things are used. Basic information to know for egress codes and for fire egress, things like that, is the doors must swing in the direction of egress when serving an occupant load of 50 or more. International Building Code tells us also that if it's 50 persons or more, it has to have an exit device. IBC says 50. NFPA 101 tells us 100 or more needs an exit device. So depending on which area, if you're under International Building Code or if you're under NFPA, that's the only one real departure point. And healthcare usually falls under NFPA 101, and just about every other type of project will fall under IBC. The exit device itself has to be mounted between 34 and 48 inches above finished floor, and the actuating portion of the exit device must extend at least half the width of the door. So the exit device push rail part, the part that actually operates the device, has to be at least half the width of the door. And this is where we get into trouble sometimes, is with stocking distributors. I was a distributor in my early days, and I've sold 4-foot doors, and I've had people ask, well, do you have an exit device for that door? I didn't stock a 48-inch rail. Well, can I put a 3-foot bar on it? You really can't unless that bar goes the entire width, unless the actuating rail goes the entire width. So it could be a problem if you are trying to use a 36-inch rail on a 48-inch door. So just bear in mind, it could be an issue. So 2 different types of exit devices that Corbin Russwin manufactures, style-wise. I said style with a Y, not an I. We'll get to that in a second here. So we offer a touchpad type device, which is a modern architectural grade product. They are usually provided in an architectural finish rather than a painted finish. We can give you a full cover on that latch edge or a narrow cover. And that's when we're talking about style with an I, S-T-I-L-E. So an architectural grade with a narrow style would be used on usually the narrow style aluminum storefront type openings. And the full cover or wide style would be used on anything flush door, anything with a latch style, latch edge of about 3.5 inches or wider. That's considered a medium style aluminum. So know that we have 2 different options in that push pad type device. We also offer a utility grade version of that. That would be something that would be used in the areas not necessarily in public view, where a painted exit device would be perfectly appropriate for that versus using a painted device. The other type of device that Corbin Russwin offers is a crossbar type exit device. We do offer both wide and narrow style in that product as well. The crossbar, we don't see as much anymore as we do the touch bar. The touchpad type devices are used because you can add electronics to them. You can add monitoring to them. There are a whole lot more feature sets that you can do with the touchpad type device versus the crossbar. The crossbar itself kind of allows for vandalism or trouble. There was a situation, an active shooter drill, where someone had a pair of crossbar exit devices and they put a bicycle chain between the two and were able to keep the first responders out because they were able to bolt the devices together. So there are some inherent issues why you wouldn't use that on new construction. It's great for retrofit. It's great for a door that has an applied molding or surface panels on it where you are trying to maintain a look. But the majority of the products that we sell now are the touchpad type devices. Let's talk about Ansi BHMA cycle testing. To be a grade 1 exit device, the device has to go through several different things. Just like our mortise locks and our cylindrical locks, we have to go through a cycle test. They also have to have a certain amount of pressure when you're pushing on the push rail to get out. It has to be 15 pounds maximum pressure to release that device. Now, we are seeing in California, their codes, their local jurisdiction, there's the word I was looking for. The local jurisdiction is now saying 5 pound. We do offer a 5 pound open force option for the Corbin Russwin 5000 series exit device. They also do a bind test. If the latch bolt is bound, 50 pound maximum force to open that. There's also a test that they do on the pull on the outside where they put a 400 pound pull on the outside door and they pull on it and the device has to remain latched and secure. The maximum poundage for turning a cylinder in a night latch function is 15 pounds maximum force. And the force to latch the door has to be no greater than 4.5 pounds. Again, that helps meet ADA 5 pound requirements. Now, I glossed quickly over that cycle testing. Cycle testing for an exit device. ANSI BHMA says for an exit device, it's 500,000 cycles. And you think about where exit devices are used. These are on exteriors and the main exits, main entries to public buildings. But the requirement says 500,000. But our cylindrical locks for grade 1 and our mortise locks for grade 1 have to go 1 million cycles. Now honestly, I've asked some people that are associated with BHMA requirements, and we asked why 500,000 on a device that's used a whole lot more often than some of these others. And they said, well, the device can be dogged. The action where you push in the rail and you hold the latch bolt retracted mechanically, which in effect makes the opening a push-pull. And the other good answer that we were given was BHMA is the Builders Hardware Manufacturers Association. And that comprises of every manufacturer that manufactures exit devices. They all have a seat at the table. And to make a change, it has to be a unanimous decision of all manufacturers. And I know Corbin Russwin and Von Duprin and Precision and Sargent have all tested well above and beyond that 500,000 cycles. But we also have to consider some of the import manufacturers that are not going after schools. They're going after the negotiated and design build type work where 500,000 meets grade 1 requirements and I'm shutting the machine off. And it works. So if it's certified, tested to that grade 1 requirements, great. If it says designed to meet grade 1 requirements, that means they didn't even test it. So we certify our products. All the ASA Abloy devices that you see out there are all certified to grade 1. As a matter of fact, we go well above and beyond that testing. Corbin Russwin has tested our ED5200 to above 9.9 million cycles. So that's 20 times Ansi BHMA grade 1 requirements. Our secure bolt exit device was tested to 7.7 million cycles. Our ED8200 series, that is our commodity type device, our utility grade device, has been tested to 6.5 million cycles. Those are all well above and beyond the requirements for Ansi BHMA. And again, in a fair specification, the other architectural manufacturers have done extended cycle testing. So if that's important, this came right off of a document, and this is done by an independent third party. This is not Corbin Russwin saying we've met and exceeded. This is a third party documented test that was done by an industry standards testing authority. And I know that our big competitors in the architectural field, Von Duprin and Precision, have also tested above and beyond that grade 1 certification. And we'll talk about where that fits against each brand. So exit device rating. You're going to see a label on the edge of an exit device, and it's going to be either listed for panic, means it has been tested to work as a panic exit device. But you'll also see listed fire exit hardware. Fire exit hardware means that that device can be used on a fire rated door. Two differences. The listed for panic is for non-rated doors. The fire exit hardware rating label is for fire rated doors. Now, I will harken back to our NFPA 80 discussion a few minutes ago. NFPA 80 states that you cannot use a fire-rated device on a non-fire-rated door. You also cannot use a non-fire-rated device or a panic-rated device on a fire-rated door. So again, that runs afoul sometimes with stocking distributors. You have a specific device on the shelf and you're trying to fill an opening. NFPA 80 tells us that you can't put a fire-rated one on a non-fire-rated opening. One of the differences between the fire-rated devices and the non-fire-rated devices is the dogging feature. You cannot mechanically dog a fire-rated device, but the panic-rated devices, you can dog, and that is the process of pushing in the push rail, which retracts the latch bolt, taking either a hex key or a cylinder, and turning that, which will hold the push rail in and pull the latch back and keep that latch held back. That's how Corbin Russwin's work. I know one of our competitors, you do the same process, but all that does is hold the latch and makes the latch play dead, and you still have the push rail that pushes in and out. Is one better than the other? I'll leave that up to you to decide. So this exit device dogging allows you to make the device push-pull, less wear and tear, less usage, less cycles on the device. We will talk about other dogging methods for fire-rated openings in a few minutes when we get to the options, because there is a way that you can dog a fire-rated device. You can dog it electrically as long as it's tied into the fire alarm system. So I wanted to go through these basic overview items before we get into the Corbin Russwin nomenclature. So let's talk about the nomenclature. Just like our cylindrical locks and our mortise locks, they start with 2 letters. ED stands for exit device. Then the first digit tells you the series of device. We have a 4000 series, a 5000 series, a 3000 series, a 7000 series, and an 8000 series. The second digit will tell you the mounting style of the device, how it's being mounted, be rim, surface vertical rod, concealed vertical rod, or mortise. The last 2 digits for the majority of the devices will be 00. The 02 device would have 2 cylinders. That's for our classroom security function. That's only available on our 5000 series. All of the functions for our rim, our surface, and our concealed vertical rod are controlled by the exit device trim. So you order the trim, you specify the lever, then the series, then the function. And that function will engage to all of the exit devices. When we get into our Mortis exit device, there are a couple different functions of Mortis exit device. You have to specify the function with the device as well as the trim. That is the only difference between the products. And again, the options are done via quick code suffix at the end. Here's an example. An ED 5200 N955. ED exit device 52. That tells us it's a 5000 series rim device. N is our Newport lever. Our 9 is our 900 series trim. 55 is our classroom function. And again, the functions stay the same regardless of the product, just like our cylindrical locks and our mortise locks. Here we're showing you our 955 classroom function trim. We have a 9M55. That M modifier tells us it's for a Mortis device. So you would select the proper ED 5600 series device and then the 9M55 trim for it. The 855 is our 800 series trim, which works with our narrow style exit devices. Again, the function numbers stay the same. Let's jump into product here. I'm going to shut myself off so my big head's out of your way. Our ED 5000 series is our modern push pad style exit device. Again, tested to almost 10 million cycles, 20 times Ansi BHMA grade 1 requirements. Our ED 4000 is our narrow style version of that device. We offer it in rim, mortise, concealed vertical rod, surface vertical rod. We do have the double cylinder available for classroom security function for rim and mortise devices. The device is available both fire rated and panic rated. We will discuss the nomenclature, how you get the fire rating on the device. It is either an A or a B at the end of the device part number. That will signify whether it's fire rated. There are some manufacturers that use an F. There are some manufacturers that use a prefix. With Corbin Russwin, it's going to be an A for an 3-hour rated or B for an 1.5 hour rated. This device comes with 10 standard architectural finishes. And the beauty of this device is everything that you see is truly architectural finish. When we talk about some of our competitors utilize aluminum extrusion for their body. And the insert on the back will also be an aluminum extrusion. The only thing that's architecturally finished would be the touchpad itself, where you activate the device, the head cover, and the end cover. And that doesn't make it a bad device, but it is important to note if you're doing a special finish, a polished chrome device or a polished brass device, with Corbin Russwin's ED 5000, every piece that you see will be that architectural finish. With the aluminum manufacturer, the head cover, the touchpad, and the end cap will be the polished, and the others will be a matching finish, an anodized aluminum, which may or may not be perfectly matched. So we're going to talk about the different lever style trims that we have, as well as the pull and thumb piece trims. We'll get into the electrified options. Suffice to say that every other manufacturer that has an electrification modification to their device, Corbin Russwin can do it. One thing that's important to note with Corbin Russwin, the exit devices do not include cylinders. Your exit device trim does not come with a cylinder unless you specify it. If it's a cylindrical dogging, you have to also include the cylinder for it. Device has a 5-year warranty. There is not anything required in the warranty paperwork to maintain that. You're going to have your common adjustments as the building settles and things like that, but there's nothing that's required annual maintenance, lubrication, etc., to meet that warranty. And again, where does this specify? How do we specify this device in the marketplace? This would happily sit in a specification against the Von Duprin 90 series and the Precision 2100 series. They are architectural grade grade 1 devices that have been tested well above and beyond ANSI grade 1 requirements. The Sargent 80 series would also fit into that play, as well as the 7000 series Yale. Any one of those devices would happily occupy that same space. Let's take a look at the device itself. We utilize a steel chassis and all heavy-duty components on the device. The head itself is a steel product. It is a wrought steel. It is a bent metal product. It is not a powdered metal or a lighter duty product. We utilize a 3/4 inch throw, deadlocking Pullman latch. We also have a security bolt type latch, which we'll talk about. That is our higher end secure type product. The mounting screws are concealed underneath the head cover for the wide style device, which makes it much more secure. It keeps you from tampering with the outside trim. We utilize a push pad that is scalped, covered with the brass, bronze, or stainless steel. So the architectural finishes are the same throughout all the product. Hex key dogging is standard on all the devices. For panic rated devices, we do not have any mechanical dogging on fire rated devices, obviously. And every exposed finish is architecturally finished. So let's take a look at how this device operates. We see the push rail assembly by itself. That push rail would affect the head above it and push. So a direct push on the push rail pushes the piece that retracts the latch bolt. So it's a direct drive mechanism. We're not depending on one piece to pull another piece that pulls another piece. There are some manufacturers that have a inner working in their device that requires you to maintain a pin that can possibly fall out. If that pin falls out, your device is no longer going to operate. The picture at the top right I'm showing you is the inner steel skeleton. We have an inner steel skeleton that's wrapped by an architecturally finished metal. So it pretty much doubles the thickness of the wall and makes that device very, very rigid and very, very durable. So we'll talk about the types of devices. The 4 basic is our rim, our mortise type device, surface vertical rod, and concealed vertical rod. And we'll talk about where each one of those would be used and some thoughts and recommendations, and I'll give you my opinion on things, and you're welcome to your opinion as well. Our ED 5000 series is our wide style push pad type device. We have our ED 4000 series as well. That is our narrow style device, which is meant to be used on those aluminum storefront openings, as well as areas where you might want to match that ED 4000. If you have storefront openings and you have other openings nearby, we could do the ED 4000M. That is our wide style device with a narrow cover, so it gives you that same look, the same design. There's our ED 5000 series. There's our ED 4000 or 4000M series. So let's take a look at the breakdown of our part numbers between our series. It all starts with ED, exit device, then our series. We're talking about our 5000 and 4000. That's our push pad type devices. We also have our 8000 series, which is our push pad utility type device. We have our crossbar. Our 3000 is our wide style, and our 7000 is our narrow style. The next digit would be our mounting, which is rim. For a 2, a 4 is surface vertical rod, a 6 is mortise, and 8 is concealed vertical rod. The next digit would be for mounting type on our vertical rods on our ED 5000 series, and we'll talk about that. If you have an oversized door or a wood door or a door with less bottom rod, you would add the 6 for the concealed vertical rod or the 7 for the surface vertical rod. And the last digit is our 0 for our standard device, and if it's a double cylinder device, on the rim or the mortise, it would be a 2. And the S is a suffix that is added for our secure bolt type device, and we'll talk about that. It's a different product than our normal Pullman latch. So what we're showing you is an ED5202S, which is an exit device, a 5000 series rim, which is our double cylinder with our secure type bolt. That is our classroom security type device. Here are the actual model numbers for the ED5000 and ED4000. Our rim, again, is an ED5200. The A option is for fire rating. That can be used on up to a 3-hour door. On our 4000 series, our narrow style is our ED4200. We have the ED4200M, which is available in an A fire rating as well. Again, that is a wide style device with a narrow style head cover to match. Our ED5200S is our secure bolt. Our ED5400 or 5470 is our surface vertical rod. Notice the 5400 is designed for metal doors up to 8 foot with an A label. The ED5470 or 5470B can be used up to a 10-foot door in a less bottom rod configuration, and it's B labeled instead of A labeled for that less bottom rod application, as well as the taller door application. The same thing with our concealed vertical rod. It's an ED5800 or a 5860 for that same reason as the 54 and the 5470. Going across, we do not offer a 4470 or a 5860. It's an ED4400, an ED4800 for the surface vertical rod and concealed vertical rod. The M version of that, you can get both of those A-labeled as well. But again, there are limitations to size. And when I talk about the height of the doors that you can use these on, it has to be based on what the wood door manufacturer has tested for, what they will allow. Our mortise device, we have an ED5600, either A or B, depending on the requirements. We do not offer the mortise device in a narrow style at all. On the 5000 to 4000, the 4000 series on the push pad, we can only do the wide style. Reason being, they would still use that deep 8-inch high pocket regardless of what that head looked like. So it didn't make sense for Corbin Russwin to make that device. So let's talk about applications. We would normally see the rim or the secure bolt rim or the mortise on single doors. We get into paired openings. That's where we start looking at some different needs, different requirements. Let's talk about some of the ways we can secure a paired opening. Double door applications with 2 rim type exit devices, rim by removable mullion. In our opinion, this is the best way to secure a paired opening. There's less moving parts here. There's no vertical rods that will require maintenance as the building settles, as things shift. We have a couple different type of mullions that you can use. We're showing you our 700 and 900 series. They are what we call a screw removable mullion. We also have our 900 series KM, which is a keyed removable mullion. The 800 series is an aluminum. It's normally used on our ED4000 device applications. And I told you I like these because they're more secure. There's less moving parts. You can get more people out in an emergency. There was a test that was done several years ago by one of our competitors. It's called the funnel effect. And what happens is they determined that with that divided opening, with that center mullion in place, you go to the left of the mullion or you go to the right of the mullion to egress in an emergency. Both doors get open fully and more people can get out. If you don't have the divider in the middle with surface or concealed vertical rods, there's a good possibility that both doors don't get open because people are going to run towards the open area. And that open area is in the very middle. So everyone congregates towards the middle of the opening, and in panic, things and people can get behind those doors, and the doors never get completely opened. So you can get more people out in an emergency. It is more secure. Facilities people tell us that they don't like the mullions because it's a pain if we're bringing equipment through. I have to unscrew the screws, take it out, then I have to put it all back up into place. Well, we address that with our keyed removable mullion. So those facilities people could then use the proper key, insert that key, turn it, snap the device out of the opening, bring the equipment through, snap it back into place. Solves that problem. We also have a kit that we can sell that is a mullion holder, for lack of a better word, so the owner doesn't lose the mullion if they take it out for an extended period of time. Say they have a need to bring equipment in and out for longer than a couple minutes. They can actually snap it into a position right beside the door on the wall or on the frame. That way the mullion doesn't get lost or disappear. And I show you that M57 Mullion Stabilizer Kit. We recommend those with especially tall openings or the aluminum mullion. And what that does is it interlocks the mullion to the door itself. That way you can't get any sway. We talked about that, pull force test that they do with the device for certification. Well, what we've seen, especially in the campus area, in dorms especially, is if your storefront door is an 8 or 10 foot tall aluminum door with an aluminum mullion, sometimes the students will figure out with a particular Pullman type latch where they start alternating pulls on each side of the door. If they have a pull on the active and the inactive leaf, and you keep doing that, sometimes you can get that mullion to move around a little bit, to wobble a little bit, and possibly walk the latch bolt back and pop the device open. That stabilizer kit will solve that problem. So on tall openings, we always recommend that. We're going to talk about our Pullman latch versus our secure bolt latch and why I would recommend that in addition to pretty much eliminate the possibility of someone being able to rock a door open. We see that more with devices that do not have a dead latch feature. On the aluminum storefronts, where sometimes the aluminum manufacturer will supply their device, and their device may not be much more than that 500,000 cycle type device that, again, I wouldn't put on a heavy use application, but sometimes it gets negotiated in. Those ones don't feature a dead latch and they can be popped open pretty easily. So that's our opinion. Rim by mullion is the best way to secure that opening. Let's take a look at our surface vertical rod devices. You could use 2 surface vertical rod devices on a door as well. On our wide style application, that would be an ED5400. Can be used on both metal and wood doors up to 8 foot tall. It can be fire labeled to 3 hours on an 8 foot tall opening, metal or wood. The ED5470 series device can be used on doors up to 10 foot on both metal and wood and for less bottom rod. Now, we use a specific top latch and strike on the 5470. So you can't just take the bottom rods off of the ED5400 and expect it to work. It's not designed that way. It's not certified that way. So if you want a fire rated version, we can do a B label, which is an ED5470B up to 10 foot on metal, wood, and less bottom rod applications. And again, I put a caveat there with the wood door manufacturers, they will have had to test it to a 10 foot opening. At one time, I could tell you there were manufacturers that have tested. There's been some consolidation in the market, so I would reach out to the wood door manufacturer that you're using and ask them if they've tested to that certification. So the ED5400A is 8 foot. The ED5470B is to 10 foot or less bottom rod applications. The downside to surface vertical rods in public spaces is the Americans with Disabilities Act tells us that we cannot have any surface mounted hardware on the bottom 10 inches of the opening. So that rod and that bottom latch is going to be in the way on a surface application, which brings us to our less bottom rod. So you only have 1 point of latching. Not as secure as 2 point latching. Again, if you're going to do 1 point latching, I would always lean back to that rim by mullion. But the customer's always right. We give the customer what they ask for. We have solutions. We also can do a concealed vertical rod. That's our ED 5800 or 5800A for A label up to 8 foot for metal and wood. We get to our ED 5860. That is for 10-foot openings, metal, wood, or less bottom rod applications. We can also do the concealed vertical rod less bottom. We can also B-label that based on the manufacturer's approvals, up to 10-foot metal, wood, or less bottom rod. I will warn you that if you're doing a concealed vertical rod device on a wood door for our fire-rated application specifically, as well as our non-rated, you will be required to use a metal edge on that wood door. Unless that wood door manufacturer has tested without it specifically, I've seen it used. They are not attractive. The metal edges that the wood door manufacturer supplies will be a competing or complementary finish, I should say, to the door itself, or it will match whatever finish the light kits are. It is not attractive. And architects hate them and they don't want to use them, but the UL testing requirements tell us that we need them, or the FM requirements, factory mutual requirements. Whoever your labeling authority is will determine what has to be used, how it was tested. We cannot take it upon ourselves to remove parts that came with the device. So bear that in mind when you're doing a design with an architect, that they understand what they're getting. Mortis Devices. Now this is the functioned device that I talked about. We've got 2 different ones for our knob type devices. We've got 3 different for our levers, and we've got 2 different for our thumb piece applications. And it will be either for passage, classroom, night latch or dummy, or classroom security. The classroom security has a specific function as well with the Mortis. So you'll have to order the device properly functioned and suffixed with the proper trim that goes with it. So that's our Mortis device. Again, we see Mortis devices used on single doors. We've seen them used on the active leaf of pairs, but you'll have to use what they call an open back strike with it. The inactive leaf could have a surface or concealed vertical rod device. We used to see that specified a lot for certain applications for certain ratings. And again, if you're using that with an open back strike, the open back strike allows the inactive leaf to be opened without opening the active leaf, which is required for egress codes. So bear in mind that certain labels will not be able to use an open back strike. So we do see it in some applications. Can you use 2 Mortis devices on a pair of doors? Not that I'm aware of. On a true paired opening, no. Even with a removable mullion, you really couldn't strike in against those that way. I've never seen that done. It's not designed for that. So you would have 2 single doors beside each other with a fixed hollow metal mullion in the middle. That would be part of the construction of the window wall. That could be done, but in a normal application, no. Our high security rim device, our secure bolt. And we talked about that 400 pounds of pull on the outside. With a normal Pullman type latch, that 400-pound pull puts about 280 pounds of pressure against your stop of your frame where your strike is mounted, or against that mullion where the strike is mounted. With our secure bolt, it utilizes, instead of a normal beveled or Pullman type latch, it utilizes a flatter engagement, almost like a deadbolt type engagement. That same 400-pound pull puts about 63 pounds of force against the stop. The less force there, That means the door and the frame don't separate. You can't rock that door open. You can't pop that door open. Gives a higher level of security. And what does that thing look like? The top left is our standard Pullman type latch bolt, which has a dead latch below it. And the bottom picture is our square bolt. It is again, almost like a deadbolt type engagement. And again, there's a certain amount of pull force with that 400-pound pull that you're allowed. We have certified the square bolt to above 4,000 pounds of force without entry, without damage, without breaking. So this device would be something that is specified for those security areas, for areas you're worried about vandalism, about possible, breaking and entering. This is a slight upcharge to our standard Pullman latch, and I will tell you that nobody else has it. I know Von Duprin has their XP type device. That is a very good device. That is tested very well against our Pullman standard latch bolt. We can show you actual engineering comparisons between the two, that our Pullman bolt, their XP bolt, are very close to each other. Theirs is actually slightly below our Pullman, and our square bolt is 3 times the requirements. So if we write this into a specification, that's going to limit it, the manufacturers, to Corbin Russwin. Yale has a secure bolt or a square bolt as well. Know that that is available on their 7000 series device as well. There's their 6000 series device. Sargent at the present time does not have a square bolt type device, nor does Precision, nor does Von Duprin. Typical exit device functions. Exit only. There's no outside trim. You can get out from the inside at all times. Dummy would have a outside lever or pull, and you can only enter it when the device is dogged. You can always get out from the inside. Passage, the outside lever is unlocked. The inside push bar is free for egress at all times. Classroom function, the key on the outside locks and unlocks the outside lever. You can always get out from the inside. The storeroom or night latch function, the lever is always locked, requiring a key. When the key is removed, the device is locked on the outside, always free for egress from the inside. And I've talked about the classroom security. The outside lever is locked and unlocked by the key on the outside. The outside lever is also locked and unlocked by the key on the device on the inside. You can always get out. All that cylinder does is lock and unlock the trim on the outside. Corbin Russwin's functions. Again, their standard passage is a 10. Our dummy is a 50. Our classroom's 55. Our night latch is a 57. And our storeroom function is a 59. If you add an M in between the lever and the function, that will tell you that it's a Mortis type device. We do offer, with our 955 series trim, it is a multifunction trim. You can change it from a classroom function to a barrier-free storeroom function just by moving a set screw that is in the back of the trim. It's right here on the locking piece of the hardware. This is where the cylinder comes in. It turns this cam, which locks and unlocks. If you move the cam from the left position to the right position, what happens is that device is locked at all times. You enter the key, you turn the key, it moves the cam, which unlocks the device. When you return the key back up to 12 o'clock and pull it out, it puts the cam back down and locks the device. That's what we call a barrier-free storeroom function. So distributors, this is convenient if the owner looks at an opening and says, oh, it has the 55 function, and I can lock it and unlock it. I don't ever want this to be unlocked. So without having to buy a new trim, you could take that off the door, fix that, put it back on, and now it'll operate the way the customer wants it. So they can never leave the door unlocked, but they can get in from the outside. This is our 900 series heavy-duty escutcheon type trim. It is a heavy forged. The one on the bottom left that I'm showing you, that is our M60 option, which gives us a parabolic design. It is a much nicer look than our standard rectangular escutcheon. Unfortunately, we don't show it very well in the catalog. We don't promote it as well. This is available. I don't even believe there's a major upcharge for it, but it gives us a more designer look, and it separates us from a utility look on that device. The trim has a 5-year warranty, same architectural finishes. We can do electrification, fail safe and fail secure on this. The levers are freewheeling when locked. The handing is field reversible. We talked about the function being able to be converted. We offer 8 standard lever designs, as well as 3 designer levers and our 48 deco levers in our Museo collection that we can do with our mortise locks and our tubular locks. So we can continue that look on the entire job. We're going to watch a quick video here and show you how to change the trim, how easy it is.
Here we have Corbin Russwin's Heavy Duty 900 Series trim. This trim is used with the ED 5000 Series exit device. Right now this trim is set up for a right hand reverse bevel. We need to change this over so it can be used with a left hand reverse bevel door. To be able to do that, you need to have the opposite hand spring. They use 2 different springs, the left hand reverse bevel and the right hand reverse bevel. So let's take a look at what we have here. When we flip this over, we want to make a few observations. First, you note the lever handle's on this side. This hole in this component here is on the same side as the lever handle. You'll also notice you can see the entire blue spring on this side here, and that the spring is on the same side as the lever handle in reference to the screw there. So the first thing we're going to do is remove the cotter pin. We're going to remove the cotter pin. Now we're going to remove the nut. Once the nut is removed, we're going to remove the washer. The washer is now removed. Now we're going to remove these components here. So when we lift this up, if you look right here, we want to release the spring pressure on this piece right here. So if you push down on that, we'll release the spring pressure. Now the spring pressure is done. We're going to pick this straight up. Remember the hole's on that side. So when we put this down, we're going to put it down so the hole is going to be on the opposite side, and that's how we're going to be using it after. So we're going to put it down just like that. This is the spring. Remember it was on that side here? So when we put the red spring on, it has to go on the opposite side, like that. Okay, so we're going to put the blue spring, we're going to put it aside, and we're now going to remove the gear. When we pick up this gear, you're going to pick it straight up. Pick it straight up and just flip it right over. And that's exactly how it's going to be reinstalled. So we're going to place that down. We're going to rotate the lever 180 degrees. And now we're going to put the gear back on, just like we took it off, but the opposite way. Just like that. Now we're going to put the red spring on. The red, don't forget, you want that end of the spring on the same side as the lever handle. So that's going to sit just like that. This piece here, the hole is on the same side as the lever, so I'm going to place this down just like that. Now it's time to spring load the lever. So the red spring, this end of the red spring needs to be slid this way to go into that ledge right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab onto the spring here and we're going to slide it this way. Once we slide it that way, it brings it and it gets caught on that edge there. And as you can see, that's what it looks like. And it's all set now. Just remember to push down the assembly. Next, you're going to put the washer back on. Put the castle nut back on. Castle nut is back on. Put the cotter pin on. Bend it over so it doesn't ever loosen up. And now it's all set. It's fully functional, and it is now set up for a left-hand reverse bevel door.
The 900 series trim is our heavy-duty pull trim. designed to work with our ED 5000 series device. Our 800 series trim is designed for our ED 4000 series. The template is very similar. The inner workings of this device are very similar to the 900 series, but it is a flat escutcheon versus the larger forged escutcheon that we use on the 900 series trim. Here are our trim lever designs. The first letter of the trim would signify the design in the part number. So the R for Regis, the N for Newport, the E for Essex. The only one that uses 2 for some reason is the Princeton, which is PR. The levers are all cast bronze, brass, or stainless steel construction versus zinc that we see on some of the commodity or commercial type devices. All of these would be cast bronze or stainless, architecturally finished. Here are our Vineyard designer lever designs. We have our Frascati, our Merlot, and our Zinfandel. We can do that with our M60 parabolic escutcheon or our standard escutcheon as well. We also have our 48 Museo decorative levers. Again, the decorative levers can match all of our products in our Good Design Studio. We can suite that with our mortise locks and our tubular locks, as well as hinges, flat goods, wall stops. They can all be corresponding. That's the Museo collection. The nomenclature for our trims, like I said, the first letter is the design, the lever style, except for Princeton, which is PR. And if it's a thumb piece, it's a TH. Then our series, our 9 for our heavy duty, our 8 for our standard duty, our M modifier for our mortise, and then our function. So we're showing you an A9M55. That's an Armstrong 900 series mortise 55 function. Let's talk about our options available for exit devices. Again, the 5000 series and the 4000 series do not come with a cylinder. If you want a cylinder, you have to request one. For a standard conventional 6-pin cylinder, it's 6P, 7P for 7-pin. M04 is our security torque screws. M21 is knurling the outside lever. If you want us to supply a housing in the trim, with the trim, to accept a 6 or 7-pin small format interchangeable core cylinder by someone else, that's a CLS 6 or 7. M52 is our option for cylindrical dogging. M55 is our less bottom rod option for our ED 5470 or 5460. The M60 takes our standard escutcheon trim and turns it into the parabolic designer escutcheon trim. The M110 is a flush end cap instead of our standard overlapping end cap. We see that in specifications sometime. If you need a special height or width or door thickness, HWD, just like all of our other options follow that. Door width, we offer the devices in a 24, a 36, and a 48-inch width. If you wanted us to cut it to a special size, we cannot do that. S is for a special strike. And we talked about the California requirement for 5-pound pressure release. That is our 5CH option. Electrification, electrified options. For our electric latch retraction, Corbin Russwin utilizes a motor electric latch retraction device versus a solenoid. If you use a solenoid device, you have to use a special power controller. If you're doing the motorized version, you can use anyone's regulated and filtered 1-amp power supply. The M61 puts an alarm on the exit device. The M91 is a latch bolt position monitoring to tell you whether the bolt's projected or retracted. M92 is our request to exit or REX switch, which signals whenever you push the push rail in. Outside trim monitoring. If you turn the lever on the outside, That's our M93. That'll send a signal to the access control system. Electric dogging, M97. What that is, it's an electromagnet inside behind the push rail. When you depress the push rail, it holds it retracted. Loss of power will release that, and the bar will come back out and the latch bolt will project. That is the only way that you can dog a fire-rated device, was with electric dogging or electric latch retraction. Both of those would need to be tied into the fire alarm system so that upon alarm or loss of power to the building, they would release and the latch bolt would project. We have a fail-safe and a fail-secure outside trim option available with our Mortis locks. D is for delayed egress. That's our 15-second delayed egress device, which alarms and holds you in that position for 15 seconds. Our M88 is a 30-second version. Anytime you want to use delayed egress on an exit device, you need to have approval of the authority having jurisdiction. Whomever is responsible will tell you whether you can use it and how many of those devices you can use in a building. The M89 and M90 are what we call our BOCA version, which was a request from building owner code officials. They wanted a device that would give you the 15-second or 30-second delay, but when the door came back shut, the alarm would go off. You don't have to go reset it. With the standard delayed egress, you have to go reset the device. The M98 is a security monitor for our 9903 and 9905 trims. Looking at the available keying options for exit devices, if you want to add a 6-pin cylinder, you would add 6P. For our Access 3 patented security or high security, it would be AP, AS, AHS. Our pyramid protected key system would be PS or PHS. Our M-Heart, if you're going to add our M-Heart cylinder to that for existing systems, that would be HS. If you add a C to the above, that would be for interchangeable core, large format interchangeable core versions of the above. The C6 would be our standard conventional key systems with an interchangeable core. C7 is a 7-pin version of that. The CT would be a temporary interchangeable core for construction. The D, CT6D suffix would tell us it's a disposable plastic core rather than the red, blue, or green. And CL6 would be for our interchangeable core prep less cylinder. We do also offer the availability of a housing for small format as well. Again, another review of our nomenclature. It starts with the device series, then the mount type, modifier for security, then the size of the device, our trim lever design, model number, then finish, then handing, and then our keying options. Our example here is an ED5202S, 36-inch, should be W036 by N955, 630, right-hand reverse, 6P, M110. The X device is a 5000 series rim double cylinder with a secure bolt, 36-inch rail. N955 is a Newport lever, 900 series, classroom function. 630 is our brushed stainless finish. RHR, right-hand reverse. 6P, 6-pin cylinder to be included. And the M110 is for the flush end cap. Again, breakdown of the part numbers again. The series, the mount type, latch bolt. Nomenclature would look like this in the how to order. We start with our device, then our trim, then our finish, then our hand, then any options. D is door thickness, W is width, M are our miscellaneous codes, and C has to do with cylinders. So that takes care of our architectural grade devices. Our crossbar version is our ED3000. Our narrow style version of that is our ED7000. And again, we make these in the rim, in mortise, in surface, and concealed vertical rod. Architectural finishes on all exposed parts. Several different trim options. The trims are not interchangeable between our touchpad and our crossbar exit devices. Know that they will be a different trim. We offer a 1-year warranty with these devices versus the 5-year warranty. This is our trim designation, our lever style or thumb piece. Then our series, the 33, is our trim for our 3000 series devices, and then the function. And our commodity type exit device is our ED 8000, available in rim and surface vertical rod, in fire and panic rated. We offer this in 3 painted finishes. It's going to be a powder coat type finish, a silver, a bronze, and a gold. We're going to talk about the trims. Again, the trims that work with the 8000 series do not work with the 5000 and vice versa. You cannot put our heavy escutcheon on this device. These are the trims that are available for the 8000 series. We have our 600 series in either Armstrong, Newport, or Princeton. We can do a wing pull, we can do our offset pull, or we can do a key only for a night latch type function. Again, the 8000 series devices have been tested well above and beyond that ANSI grade 1 requirements. And up until recently, the City of Philadelphia School District utilized the 8000 series as their standard device on all of their exterior doors because it's a workhorse, because it does a very good job. They use the wing pull on the outside or the key only as their standard. And when they started getting into access control, they started using other devices. But for several years, this device was their de facto standard because it was durable and it worked in those schools. Let's go ahead and take a look at some part numbers and do some pricing exercises here. We need an ED 5000 series device, rim, right-hand reverse, secure bolt. We want an ANSI 03 function escutcheon with a Essex lever trim. We want electric latch retraction. We want request to exit switch, polished chrome finish. We want a cylinder. We want the Access 3 security cylinder. We want through bolts, and we want the 5-pound pressure release. Let's take a look at how that puts together. Our series is an ED 5200S. Our electric latch retraction is an MELR. Our request to exit is M92. Our 5-pound release is 5CH. Our trim is an E for the Essex 957, which is our storeroom function. M54 for the through bolts. Our hand is right-hand reverse. Our finish is 625 for the polished chrome. And our Access 3 cylinder for security is AS. So how does that look all together? Is an ED 5200S, E955, 625, right-hand reverse, M54, MELR, M92, 5CH, AS. Now that we have that, we can start putting our pricing to this. So we will go to our price book. If you have your price book, the exit devices for the ED 5000 are listed on page 279. We want to come down to the secure bolt, the ED 5200S series. We find our device. We find our part number here in the left column. We come across to the proper finish, which would be the far right column. 1818 is our list price for the device itself. All the things that are highlighted are taken care of. Everything that's not highlighted here at the bottom is what we have to go. So we need to add our trim to this. Our trims are on page 284. We go to page 284, we find our 957 exit trim. We come across all the finishes for the trims are the same. That's 733. We have the device and the trim priced now. Now we need to add all of our other options, our electric latch retraction, our Rex, our through bolts, our cylinder, our 5CH option. So let's go ahead, and all of that would be on pages 296 to 300. So here we're on page 296. Let's take a look at our touch bar monitoring is M92, which adds 213. Our latch retraction, MELR, which adds 852. So we're adding all those two to that device. Now we need to find the mechanical options and the cylinder. We are on page 299. Our through bolts M54 are no charge when ordered with the device. If you do not order them with the device, then you have to pay for them. Our 5-pound pressure release is $29 for that option. What else do we have to add here? We have to add our cylinder. Corbin Russwin does not offer the cylinders as a standard. You have to add them to the device. This one happens to be a AS, which is an Access 3 security cylinder. We go to page 298, which has the cylinder pricing. Find the cylinder option, what the technology is. That's Access 3 security. You come across at $142 per cylinder. Adding all those together, our price went from $18.18 with all the options is $37.87. Let's take a look at one more device quickly. We need a surface vertical rod, less bottom rod with an Ansi 08 function, escutcheon trim with an Armstrong lever, fire rated 1.5 hours for a 4-foot wide by 10-foot high door, 1.75 inch thickness, polished brass, 6-pin standard cylinder with through bolts, and we want the end cap reinforcement. Our series, ED 5400 series, be a 5470 for our surface vertical rod device because we're doing the less bottom rod and we're doing a 10-foot door. B rated, 1.5 hour. M55 for the less bottom. Our width, W048, tells us it's a device for a 48-inch door. Our H1000 for our door height. Our trim is an A955, that's our Armstrong lever with our 55 function. Our through bolts are M54. Our end cap, our reinforced end cap, is an M109. Their handing is left-hand reverse. Our finish is 605. Our cylinder is 6P. We did have a question that just popped up. Are all cylinders interchangeable in Corbin Russwin exit devices? Yes, the cylinders are interchangeable, but you have to have the right cylinder. If it's an exit device, our standard functions, our classroom function would be a rim type cylinder. For a Mortis device, it would be a Mortis cylinder. And any Mortis cylinder that was sized properly would work in there. Any rim cylinder that was had the proper tailpiece would work in there. Yes. Thank you for the question. Let's go ahead and put all these numbers together. We had an ED 5470B by A955 in 605, left-hand reverse, H1000 W048, M54, M55, M109, 6P. All of those options will be additions to the price. So let's go ahead and get into our price book. I'm on page 279. That's where our exit devices are. We have to find our ED 5470B. We come across to our finish for 605. That's 2532. Now we're going to go get the trims on page 283. We find our 955 trim, $733 list. Adding that to it, now we need to go to our options. Our options are on page 297 to 300. We find our 10-foot H1000 adds $86. Our W048 for a 48-inch rail adds $37. Now we need to price the through bolts, the less bottom rod, and the end cap. Through bolts, M54, less bottom rod. Both of those, the M54 and M55, are no charge. Again, you have to use the 5470 device to do less bottom rod. The M109 end cap reinforcement is $82 list per device. Now we need to add our cylinder because we do not include the cylinder. Our 6P conventional 6-pin cylinder adds $93. So our list price for that device goes up to $35.63 for the complete device with all the options. Do we have any questions on the exit devices? All right, I'm going to go ahead and move to the next. We are going to talk about the multi-point locks. Corbin Russwin offers a few different multi-point devices that are designed for use in security areas, as well as windstorm areas, as well as blast resistant areas. And we're going to talk about each one and where they fit. Our MP6600 multi-point device is a 3-point locking, deadlocking system. It's built around the functionality of a mortise lock by adding top and bottom bolts as well. And again, you could use these in retail, government, infrastructure, museums, areas where you need that additional security, where you need the convenience of a 3-point latch, much more secure than a single latch. Now, adding the FM to the device, that is our windstorm solution. You have to order the FM device as part of a system with our windstorm type doors and frames. You could not just add this to a standard hollow metal door and make it a windstorm door. It has to be part of a solution, part of a complete system. Our BL series option is for our blast resistant solution. Again, we make blast resistant doors, and using this device with it would be part of that solution. The FM and the BL have to be used with our solutions for windstorm or for blast. You can buy that MP6600 and put it on any hollow metal door for security, but it would not be a blast or a windstorm type product. Our FE6700 series is another multi-point lock. This one utilizes a deadbolt in the center with top and bottom bolts as well. It's a multi-point auto deadlocking, what we call a storm shutter type system. And these would be used as part of a windstorm solution, again, for storm shutters. The doors are normally held open, but in the case of this, they would then shut, and it would allow you to use the rooms as a community refuge area or safe rooms for education, government, and healthcare facilities. Again, you have a heavy-duty trim on the device that operates it as well. But say you need a multi-point locking solution, and it doesn't need to be used in a windstorm type situation, we have that as well. We have our MP9800, which utilizes, again, a heavy-duty trim on both sides. Has top and bottom latching. The nice thing about this is you could use this on a paired opening that didn't require an exit device. Those doors could work independently of each other without the use of a coordinator or flush bolts or anything like that on the paired opening. You could electrify the trim. You could put latch retraction. You could put monitoring devices on this as well. Again, there are applications for this non-windstorm, non-blast that this device would work well in. The FE5400 series is, again, designed for a windstorm solution. It is a multi-point device. It's a 3-point device, but it utilizes an exit device. It utilizes our secure bolt type exit device with concealed vertical rods. I'm sorry, they're surface vertical rods. Gives you a 3-point latching system, again, for those safe rooms, for those shelter areas, and the devices will still operate as an exit device. So you have that egress from the inside. You could have the trim on the outside. And again, part of a complete windstorm solution. So Corbin Russwin does have, 4 different products. If you add the other options, there's 6 different products. And again, based on the application, based on what you need them to do. There are different products for each type of situation. Jumping into our access control products, Corbin Russwin has a lot of different products for a lot of different uses, from basic keypad type locks trying to control traffic to online systems. And when we go above our offline or keypad solutions, we will require the use of an authorized channel partner distributor and a certified integrator or certified installer, meaning the distributor has been trained as an authorized channel partner. They know how the product works, where to sell it, what it does, what it doesn't do. The certified integrator has been trained on that, plus how to install, how to commission, how to make this product talk to their access control system if necessary. So anything that you see with the 2 logos there at the bottom will require additional training in order to sell and to install. So we'll start looking at what we call our security continuum. And we start at the bottom left with a mechanical key credential that is the most cost effective. When we start moving up our continuum to add features to the lock, then you start adding slightly to the cost of the device. And we're going to touch on keypad, offline, wireless, and online solutions. Corbin Russwin has all of those products available. So let's go ahead and start with our Access 800 type product. This is our access control product. If you look at it, it has a large escutcheon on the outside trim. On the Mortis and on the cylindrical version, it also has that large escutcheon on the inside. On the exit device, it would have a large separate escutcheon from the device itself. And this can be configured different ways based on how you want it to work. Our standard M800 series option is keypad only, standalone. You program the device with a keypad at the door. Our M801 through M806 is our 2000 user, software controlled, offline. And with the M801 through M806, we can do keypad, Prox card, or radio frequency technology. You can have any one of those, a multiple of any one of the 3, or all 3 together. We have several different Prox cards available through Corbin Russwin, as well as key fob, as well as credential options. And if your facility has existing access control and you wanted to add this to an area where you couldn't hardwire to it, if you're using a Prox card, all you would need to know is the data, the information for the card, as well as the card number, which is usually printed on the card itself, the site code, as well as the card serial number. We could actually put that into our software, and you could use an existing credential that was an HID Prox card in these locks. Now, we use a very user-intuitive, very basic software. It's called Solo Plus. And the good thing is you don't have to wire to it. These are all battery-operated locks. The downside is you have to go to every lock to program it, to audit it, to pull information up, to take information down. If you make a change to the users on the lock, you have to go to each lock with what we call our data transfer device. I would not recommend this for large systems because those limitations will create havoc for you. I've seen situations where we deployed this in a boarding school, which was middle school, high school, elementary school. The students lived in dorms. Every building had this type of device on the exterior, as well as each dorm group had this, and they utilized Prox Cards for the students. And the person who implemented the system liked the price, but then when they realized that every year as the students changed and they changed access, students were expelled, they had to go to each lock to upload new information. Now you can bulk load that. If they had 3,000 students, you could do them all at once, but it takes time. You have to go to every lock. So I would not recommend this for a large system. There are better products for this. So this footprint, our Access 800 type product, we have a couple other form factors that we use this with. We're going to now slide up our Continuum a little bit to an online system. Our Access 800 IP1, which is a power over Ethernet type product. And what that is, it's a hardwired access control system that works off the building's power over Ethernet network infrastructure. So this plugs into a network port, just like a computer would. And it speaks in real time back and forth. It gets its power, and it gets its data from the Ethernet. Again, if you have a system in place, that can wire into it, but we would have a special, what we call PoE, power over Ethernet hinge, or power transfer that's required for the data and for the power. This gives you that large Access 800 Escutcheon, available in Prox, iClass, and keypad. When we get into smart card, we can't do it in this form factor. But we have a keypad available with this that we haven't released broadly yet with the other form factor. We have our Access 800 WI1 Wi-Fi lock. Again, this communicates via Wi-Fi, your existing building network. You do not have to add infrastructure. I talked about our PoE a second ago. There's nobody else that offers a PoE lock. There are security and access control vendors that are using PoE, power over Ethernet, for cameras and for some other things, but ASSA ABLOY is the only lock manufacturer that is utilizing PoE, to my knowledge. Wi-Fi. There are other manufacturers that have a Wi-Fi lock, but they require you to put in a specific dedicated Wi-Fi network for that lock. Our Wi-Fi lock will fit on an existing 802.11bg type, which is a common network infrastructure. This is great for retrofitting existing doors. You don't have to core through the door to put a cable. It will actually wake up a few times a day and will speak to your network. There is a controller built into the lock set that will make the access control decisions. The controller will function whether the building system is online or offline based on how it was last updated. So if you lose power to your building, you lose access control, this lock still works based on how it was just installed, just how it was just programmed. So there's no proprietary equipment. It works off existing building network infrastructure. We do Mortis, cylindrical, and exit device configurations with this. When you look at that large shoe, that footprint, we can't do vertical rods with any of these Access 800 type devices. When we need to do vertical rods, we may have to look at some other type of products. Again, Prox, iClass, and keypad credentials. Know that there are other form factors that we can use this. This was, when we developed this several years ago, this footprint, it was designed to have a designer look to match the looks of the day. And we've been told that what we affectionately refer to here as the clown shoe is not the most beautiful product out there. So we're going to look at some of our new products. Our Incepta series has been designed in order to combat that look. And you notice the Wi-Fi and the PoE locks need to be sold through authorized channel partners as well as certified integrators. So that covers that basic Prox and iClass and keypad type lock. There are some still facilities out there that use magstripe, specifically the college campus environment. We have a product that is developed for the college campus environment that is still using that magstripe. That mag stripe is the same that's on your ATM card and on your credit card. There's a magnetic strip on that card, and your access control rights and your information is recorded onto a track on that card. Campuses still like to use that because there are several tracks, and each track could have different information. Your student records, your health information could be there. Your purchasing for the cafeteria and the library and things like that could be on one track. Your health data could be on one track. Your access control data could be on one other track as well. But we are seeing, because the mag stripe has been around since the 70s and 80s, that it is fallible technology. There needs to be a newer technology deployed. So we offer this with the mag stripe, with a pin code, as well as a multi-class reader, which means we can go to those secure technology card readers, to something that is more secure than Prox. Prox has been defeated. iClass can be defeated. When we start talking about our secure products, there are end users that want to migrate away from the mag stripe. This is a campus type lock, the Access 700. We can do it in an offline version, a Wi-Fi version, and a power over Ethernet version for cylindrical, Mortis, and exit device type products. And how this works is the college campuses have their own access control that does a lot of their systems work. We can integrate with that. Some of them have actually written code to our lock. Others, we have our Assa Abloy Persona Campus software that we can integrate into the campus systems as well. So this lock is designed for that campus environment only. Obviously requires authorized channel partner as well as certified integrator partners as well. So I mentioned the Access 800 being limited to Prox and iClass. People are migrating away from them. They want to go to smart card technology, near field communication, Bluetooth. We needed a product form factor that would work for that environment as well. Our Incepta series product, our IN series. IN 100 is our Apereo wireless platform. Again, just like our Access 800 Apereo version, this speaks wirelessly to a hub that is hardwired into the access control system. And what we're showing you here is available in multiple form factors. This is an Assa Abloy technology. Apereo can speak to Corbin Russwin locks, can speak to HES cabinet locks, can speak to Adams Wright storefront locks, anything that has that Apereo technology. We can do server cabinets in server rooms. All of those things could be installed to speak wirelessly to a hub. That hub is then hardwired to the access control system. The decisions are made at the access control system, but we also have a smart credential cache, so if the access control system goes offline, it will remember how it was last programmed for a short time to allow the system to come back online and take new information. We offer a privacy button on the inside of these Incepta locks as well that allows for a lockdown solution as well as shelter in place. The privacy button would inactivate the outside card reader. It's available with our HID multi-class technology, which gives you multiple credential options, not just HID, but some other manufacturers as well. We can also do near field communication. There are Bluetooth options as well. And where this would hit against our competitor, Schlag's AD locks, they're wireless locks. They use what they call a PIM that communicates wirelessly to their lock. Our Apereo hub is like their PIM. And our hubs can be configured based on the access control vendor to work one hub per one lock, one hub per 8 locks, one hub per 16 locks. Again, that's based on the access control system. And what we get there is that smart card SE technology You get a nice, cleaner footprint than the Access 800, and you're going to see all of our products have an IN designation, which stands for that Incepta, which is the smart card, near field communication, multiple credential options, smaller form factor. You don't have the large escutcheon. Our IN 120 is our Wi-Fi version, and this is an upgraded radio inside of the Wi-Fi. The intelligence is built into this lock, just like our Access 800 Wi-Fi lock. It speaks, it wakes up and it speaks with the access control system for a split second, comes back offline. The decisions are made locally, so if your power goes out, your access control system dies, your locks are still going to function because they're a battery-powered lock. Available Mortis cylindrical and exit device. Again, with those smart card technology, great for retrofit, great for hard-to-wire locations. The nice thing about this is the Wi-Fi radio does the 802.11b and G, and also the N, which is the newer style network. And this is built modular so that as the Wi-Fi technology changes and the style of Wi-Fi goes up and the encryption changes, we can actually pull that card out and put a new Wi-Fi radio in to the latest technologies as they are done. That is our Wi-Fi product. Again, requires authorized channel partner, certified integrator participation. Our IN 220, which is our power over Ethernet. We talked about our power over Ethernet version of the Access 800. Again, this gives you power over Ethernet communication, hardwired, full-time online access control with that multi-class technology. A nicer, more sleek look than our Access 800 footprint. Available cylindrical, Mortis, and exit device configurations. You do have to core through the door. You do have to provide a PoE hinge or power transfer required. Does require authorized channel partner and certified integrator participation. Our other technology for online full-time access control would be our Access 600, which is an integrated Wiegand product. Wiegand is just the technology for the speech. It's like the English for access control systems. And this works with our Prox and I-Class and some PIV personal credentials. Available for Mortis cylindrical and exit devices. What this does is it takes, for access control systems, all of these locks eliminate the need for a separate request to exit switch, a separate door position switch, a separate card reader and lock. It puts it all into one location. This lock actually has all of those features built into that lock. So for the access control people, all these hardwired locks give you real-time information. Many less hours of pulling cables to multiple locations. Again, this is for Prox and I-Class. We needed a form factor that would work with multiple credential types, so we released our SELP10 version, which is our Incepta style, which is our multi-class technology, which allows us to read and work with non-HID cards. We can do near-field communications. We can do other card technologies with it. This is a hardwired Wiegand lock, just like the last one that we showed you. You do need a power transfer or a power hinge, which has 12 wires. All of that information, the power and the data, the request to exit, the door position switch, and the reader, all of those will be powered to one location. Again, requires authorized channel partner, certified integrator participation. And this was meant to be a brief overview. If you want to learn a lot more about it, we will have some additional classes available for the access control products and solutions. The first question, does Corbin Russwin include cylinders with their exit devices? We do not unless you ask for them. So the answer was no. Number 2, which device series would you use on a narrow style aluminum storefront door? ED4000 was the answer that we were looking for. What ways can you secure a paired opening with an exit device? This was multiple choice. The first three answers were acceptable answers. The rim by Mullion, a vertical rod exit device, and Mortis device by vertical rod can be used in certain applications. Mortis device by Mortis device, nobody clicked on that one. That was a good answer. And number 4, exit device use is governed by building code requirements, and we all got that one right. All right, good job. Let's talk about door control. Why do we need door control? Start with fire doors. Fire doors have to close automatically and latch as specified by building codes. That's intended to prevent the spread of fire or smoke within a building. Environmental reasons. A closed door keeps out the weather, the rain, the snow, temperature variations. For security, a self-closing door will properly set and close and latch every time, securing the opening. Think about doors that we're putting access control on. We had those access control doors, that hardware that we talked about earlier. If the door doesn't close and latch every time, then you really don't have security. Sound containment. A closed door limits the transfer of sound from one side to the other. There may be private offices. In schools, you may have music rooms where you want to make sure that the sound stays inside the room and not outside of the room. Visual limitation. There might be things inside of an office or inside of a space that you don't want people to see into. So a properly closed and latched door will provide privacy. And for safety, a controlled door will make sure that the door doesn't slam on someone's fingers. It will extend the life expectancy of the door in the frame. So we're going to talk about selecting a door closer. How do we know which closers to pick? There are a couple things that we need to think about. Opening and closing forces. They're usually dictated by Ansi A117 for meeting ADA requirements, Americans with Disabilities Act. We'll talk about that in a minute. Stack pressure in a building, we have to worry about that. Is the movement of air into and out of a building or a space that will actually inhibit the closing of the door. High winds on exterior doors can keep the door open longer than you expected or wanted to if the door is not adjusted properly. Heavy doors will actually have an impact on the closer model that you choose, whether or not you'll be able to meet ADA requirements, as well as the mount of the closer is going to actually matter as well. So aesthetics and arm applications go hand in hand. The key is to select an arm application that keeps the door closed, keeps the closer on the inside of the building, inside the room, away from public view. Sometimes you'll see that in architectural specifications where the architect won't actually have the specifier write the mount for each door closer, but there will be a note that says to keep the closer away from public view. So in that situation, you would definitely have to select the mounting of that closer. If you send out what we call a tri-pack closer and you don't tell the installer how to install it, all bets are off. It may not be what the owner wanted. So before we go further, let's talk about how a door closer works. And this pertains to every door closer manufacturer. Every door closer manufacturer uses what we call a rack and pinion method, where you have a spindle that attaches to the arm of the closer. As the door opens, the arm moves, turning the spindle, which pushes a piston back and forth. Let's see how that works.
Cast iron closers from Assa Abloy are rugged and reliable, providing millions of cycles with minimum maintenance. But the true durability test comes during those inevitable times when extreme forces are applied to the door and the door closer. Our single-piece construction provides uniform strength and wear resistance and eliminates potential leak points. Let's look inside to see what makes this cast iron closer so durable. Here's the basics. Each time the door is opened, the closer arm turns a pinion, which moves a piston inside the fluid-filled chamber. The speed of the piston is controlled by fluid passing from one side of the closer to the other. The valve controls the speed. When the door reaches about 70 degrees open, oil begins flowing through the back check valve. gradually increasing the amount of pressure required to open the door farther. This cushioning effect is called the backcheck function. When the door is released, the stored energy in the spring pushes the piston back. The fluid is now routed through valves that control the closing speed of the door. The sweep speed valve meters the oil flow from wide open to within about 7 degrees of closed. The latch valve then takes over, controlling the last 7 to 10 degrees of the closing swing. The latch and sweep speed of the door can be increased or decreased to obtain the desired door motion. The spring adjust screw may be adjusted to obtain the appropriate closing force and to accommodate for varied door sizes and latching hardware. Our cast iron closers have easily accessible valves for adjusting backcheck, sweep, and latch speed functions. During the closing motion, internal pressures seldom exceed 50 psi, but some doors are located in high abuse situations. Examples might be a city high-rise on a windy day or school doors that children constantly force to close. In cases like these, extreme pressure builds up inside the closer body. With no way for the pressure to escape, that force can damage the closer, the door, the frame, and the mounting hardware. This is why our unique self-regulating pressure relief valves are so important. Under abusive conditions, the pressure relief valve on the end of the piston senses the extreme pressure and automatically meters the fluid to achieve more normal pressure levels. The self-regulating pressure relief valve cycles rapidly during extreme pressure events to maintain control of the door. Once normal pressures are achieved, the pressure relief valve is no longer active, but ready for the next time the closer is abused. By releasing this pressure, the valve acts as a shock absorber, preventing damage to the door closer, the mounting hardware, the frame, or the door itself. Another unique feature for our cast iron closer is an independent mounting bracket. This bracket allows easy and accurate alignment. Simply install the bracket and attach the door closer. One-piece cast iron construction, the unique pressure relief valve system, and the independent mounting bracket. These are just some of the reasons our door closers last and last, cycle after cycle, year after year after year.
So one thing that I wanted to point out, I had mentioned that everyone's door closer works exactly like that. There is one unique feature which some of our closers have that they mentioned there, which was the pressure release valve. That pressure relief valve is designed to be a fail-safe to that closer, so that any pressure on both the opening and the closing force that would build up excess pressure inside is bled off. Now, we've heard some unscrupulous competitors, mentioning no names, that would tell an owner that the pressure relief valves are not necessary, that they cause the door closer to not function properly. That is everything but the truth of the matter. The pressure relief valve maintains control, and it keeps the pressure from building up, because if the pressure gets too high, you could have leak from any of the seals or any of the valves, or an extreme pressure, you could have the body casting crack, and we have seen that in the field. So if we do run across a specification from a competitor that says no pressure relief valves, we can provide a closer without pressure relief valves, but we recommend using them because it's a good feature. It is a product that will actually allow that door closer to last a lot longer. That being said, let's continue on. We're going to talk about Ansi A117, or ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act. ADA, chapter number 4, talks about openings. We have to worry about closing forces and opening forces and things like that. So all commercial doors should have a closing speed and a latching speed. That's what we consider a full-featured closer, as well as the back check in the opening cycle. Some closers also have a back check position valve that allows you to adjust that from 65 to about 80 degrees. Normally, they kick in about 70 degrees, that's where the normal back check feature is. You'll also see a enhanced back check available on certain closers as well as an option that you can actually adjust that even further down so the back check kicks in. And what the back check does is it cushions it on the opening cycle. It keeps the door from slamming against the stop or the wall. It doesn't stop. It's not meant to be a stop mechanism, but it slows it down. It protects the closer. It protects the frame. It protects the door. So talking about ADA here, closers. They shall be adjusted so that from an open position of 90 degrees, the time required to move the door to a position of about 12 degrees is 5 seconds minimum. It can be longer, but it can't be less than 5 seconds from 90 degrees to about 12. And our latching speed kicks in about 10 degrees-ish. So that's our sweep range. Our sweep range has to be adjusted for about that 5 seconds. And it doesn't say how long that latching can take. It could be immediate if you need to, amp it up a little bit to, overcome some stack pressure or overcome some gasketing. You can adjust that. The beauty of a perfectly adjusted door closer is you don't see it go from sweep to latch speed. It should be one fluid motion. You shouldn't have a stop and a kick. Opening force for ADA. This reads right in 404.2.9 in the Americans with Disabilities Act. It says fire doors shall have the minimum opening force allowable by the appropriate administrative authority. That's the AHJ, the authority having jurisdiction. So fire doors kind of trump ADA a little bit. If we need 7 pounds to close that fire door, then it should be 7 pounds. Unless your AHJ has another plan. You have to follow what your local AHJ tells you. So the maximum force for pushing or pulling doors open other than fire doors for an interior hinge door is 5 pounds. For an interior sliding door, it's 5 pounds as well. On exterior doors, the force is not enforced because we have to deal with outside wind pressures and things like that. If you would adjust that down on an exterior door, you may not have enough power to pull it closed, depending on the mounting of the closer. So let's take a look at the Ansi requirements for a door closer. Ansi BHMA requires a couple things here. To be a grade 1 door closer, if the closer does not have back check, it requires 2 million cycles. If it has back check, it's 1.5 million cycles. To be a grade 2 closer, it's 1 million cycles without back check or 750,000 cycles with back check. To be a grade 3 closer, it's 500,000 cycles with or without back check. And the other thing that it tells us, that's the closer efficiency. And we're talking about the power to close the door that's left over from your opening force. So if your opening force is 10 pounds, you have to have at least 6 pounds, which is 60%, to pull it shut. The closer has to be at least 60% efficient to meet those grade requirements. And where that's going to matter is we want to start talking about the mounts of the different closers and meeting ADA, because the way you mount a closer has a lot to do with the efficiency of a door closer. So I said 10 pounds would be 6 pounds closing. On a 5 pound opening force, you would only have 3 pounds to close that door. 3 pounds is not a whole lot to overcome, light stack pressures or binding in the door or gasketing. We have to make sure that we address all of those things. So Corbin Russwin has a history, again, of testing above and beyond ANSI requirements. Our closers have back check, so to be grade 1, we need to go 1.5 million cycles. Our DC 6000 and our DC 8000 have been tested over 25 million cycles. Verified third-party testing. Again, we know that our architectural competitors have tested theirs above and beyond that as well. So again, if it's important, we can give that third-party document to an owner, to an architect, and we welcome them to do the same thing. So let's talk about the different mountings for door closers. There are 4 basic styles of mounting for door closers: regular arm, top jam, parallel, and slide track. And we're going to talk about each one of those and what the effect is of each one of those as we try to decide which mount to use. A lot of our door closers can be installed on a right-hand door or a left-hand door. They're non-handed. There are some specialty arms that we have that are handed, and we always view the handing from the push side, regardless of how the closer or where the closer is mounted on the door. We do not offer a right-hand reverse closer. We do not offer a left-hand reverse closer. Always view it from the push side. So if you have a right-hand reverse door, from the push side, it's going to be left-hand. So it's going to be a left-hand closer. If you send an order in for a reverse bevel closer, we're going to be confused. So bear that in mind. Our closers can be purchased with our standard arm, which is a tri-pack mount arm. And with that tri-pack mount, you can mount it in a regular, a parallel arm, or a top jam mount application. For a stocking distributor, that makes life a whole lot easier because you only have to stock 1 closer instead of 3 different closers. The onus is then on the distributor to make sure that the installer on a project knows how it's to be mounted. Again, if you send it out and don't tell the installer is going to do what they want to do. Let's talk about the different mountings of door closers. Regular arm mount is the most efficient door closer mount that is available. The closer body mounts on the face of the door, and the shoe of the arm mounts on the face of the frame. It's mounted on the pull side of the opening, so it's a very easy install. It's the most efficient of all the surface door closers. It's easier to install than parallel arm. It will allow a 180-degree swing if you template it for that. The downside is you cannot use a regular arm mount on exterior doors because you don't want the closer on the outside, especially in areas that get weather. And vandalism concerns. That arm sticks straight off of the face of the door. It's sometimes objectionable. If you put that in a public building, put it in a high school, then you're going to have students try to do chin-ups on it, possible damage, possible abuse concerns. But this is the most efficient door closer mount, comparing your opening force to your closing force. And when we talk about that, as you open that door, you're compressing a spring and pushing the fluid through. So as you open that door on a rack and pinion door closer, it gets harder to open. And as the door comes shut, the spring is then pushing the piston back through, the fluid's going through. So as you're coming closed, when you get down to the very end, when you need extra oomph to overcome pressures and gasketing and things like that, you have the least amount of power available. So the closer that you select, the mount you select, is going to definitely affect the efficiency of the closer. So regular arm is our preferred, our most efficient mount. But again, you can't put that on the exterior. Our other option is our top jam mount. It's almost as efficient as the regular arm mount. This is mounted on the push side, where the closer itself is mounted on the face of the frame. The shoe of the arm is mounted on the face of the door on the push side. It allows for full headroom. The closer is up out of the opening completely. The door can allow 180 degrees of swing. You might, depending on the manufacturer of the closer, need a back plate behind that because a standard 2-inch face frame might not have enough area for the screws to mount through. And if you're using a very deep frame, you might need a special reveal depth arm. The standard adjustable arm will allow for certain depths, but once you get into something larger than an 8 3/4 frame, you might need a longer reveal arm. And again, you have the same problem in those public buildings where that arm is sticking straight off the door. Again, it might be a chin-up bar in a high school, But again, this is the most efficient mountings, the regular and the top jamb. Well, the most popular mounting is the next one. That's our parallel arm. That's also a push side mount. It takes the arm, instead of running it perpendicular or off the face of the door, it runs it parallel to the face of the door. It hides that arm in behind the closer body itself a little bit, so it's harder for someone to get in there and damage or abuse it. It is a little bit more difficult to install because there is what we call indexing that has to be done. The spindle on the arm has to engage. The spindle and the arm have to engage in such a way so that the valves all kick in the right position. If you've ever gone to a building where you see a parallel arm style mount and the arm is sticking off of the opening at like 45 degrees, then I would guarantee you that closer is not going to operate as it was designed. It happens though. The advantage, again, the arm is kind of hidden. It doesn't project. It allows you to use with a parallel arm, you can put some different hold open, different stop mechanisms, some thumb turn hold opens or dead stop mechanisms on the closer itself. Kind of a convenience thing. The downside is if you have a glass kit or a full glass door, you might need a drop plate there for that top rail. It requires a larger top rail on the top of that door. The installation is a little bit more difficult because of the indexing of the arm and the preloading and things like that. This is less efficient than regular top jamb. This mount will lose about 25% of your efficiency of the door closer operation. So we harken back to ADA. ADA says 5-pound opening force. With a 60% efficiency, that gives you 3 pounds. Take 25% off of that, you have about 2.5 or less pounds. That may not be enough to pull a door closed. And you'll actually see certain manufacturers will note with certain mounts that they cannot meet ADA. Most specifically, where people have the most trouble with ADA is the next mount, the track mount. The track mount can be push side or pull side mount. The arm itself basically disappears because the closer is flush against the track, and the arm, when it's closed, does not stick out at all. It's almost impervious to abuse. The aesthetics are much prettier than the other ones with the arm sticking out. The downside is it's even less efficient than parallel arm. So I said 25% less efficient for a parallel arm. Well, this is about 30% plus less efficient. This is going to be very hard to meet ADA. I would not use this on an exterior door because of the lack of efficiency on the door closer. Now remember, I said with a rack and pinion door closer, track mount is the least efficient made. Remember, I said that. Corner bracket is another interesting type mount. That is on the push side. The closer is actually mounted to that bracket that mounts on the face of the frame at the head and at the hinge jamb. The arm sticks off the face of the opening and mounts to the face of the door. So it is separate away from the face of the frame. It's on the push side. It doesn't, you can use that if you have a very thin top rail. Sometimes specialty applications or other things won't work. The downside to it is the closer and the bracket stay in the opening when the door's open. So for life safety code, for egress codes, your doors will have to be at least 7 foot 6 inches high to accommodate, because that closer stays in the opening. You have to have a minimum 78-inch clear headroom. So you have to account for the width that the arm takes and the body takes. Dropping that down, you need at least 78 inches of clear headroom to meet code. So you probably won't use this very often. I'm going to show you a video. I mentioned the different adjustments of a door closer. I'm going to show you a video of what happens when you adjust each one. And we borrowed this from a sister company, so The English is a little bit broken. I will talk over the video. We got rid of the translation here, other than the writing on the screen. Typical door closer not adjusted. It's slammed open, slammed closed. That is not going to last terribly long. The first thing we're going to adjust is that back check, which cushions the opening cycle at about 65 degrees. Notice it doesn't slam against the wall, it's slowed it down. Still closing pretty fast, still slamming. So we're going to now go to the latching speed and adjust the latching speed. And watch what happens to the closer. We open it, it still has that cushion in the open. Unlimited sweep there, now it's latching. See, it slowed itself down, the latch. If we adjust our sweep speed or our closing speed now, it will make one solid, fluid motion. We've got our 5 to 7 seconds there, and door closer latches. That's going to last a whole lot long. This is what we call delayed action, and this is not a hold open feature. Watch what happens when we open the door. The door is closing very slowly, and the delayed action allows somebody who is maybe in a wheelchair or on crutches, needs a little bit of extra time getting through that opening. The door's not going to run into them. It's going to close very slowly. That's an optional feature that we can add to the closer. It still meets the fire rating. You can use delayed action with a door closer because you can adjust it for, up to, I believe, 30 seconds. And it's not holding the door open, it's just closing very slowly. And once that time of the delayed action reaches, then it continues on. So now let's jump into Corbin Russwin closer part numbers. Our nomenclature. All of our door closers are DC for door closer. The first digit is our series. Actually, the first two digits. It's our 8200 series. The next digit is the arm mount. 10 is parallel arm. And then the A3 is a specialty arm. Any of our arm codes that are special will have an A. Our delayed action, any other features like that will be our miscellaneous M type codes, which we'll talk about those in a second here. Let's start with our DC 8000 series closer. Our DC 8000 series closer is our heaviest duty industrial grade 1 type closer. The DC 8000 is a BHMA certified grade 1 closer. We utilize an 1.5 inch diameter piston inside of there. It is a certified grade 1 product. It is cast iron complete. I'm going to mention those few things. It has been tested above 25 million cycles. It has a 25-year warranty. The reason I pointed out the cast iron construction, the 25 million cycles, and the 1.5 inch bore piston diameter was because our biggest competitor in the market, who wrote quite a bit of specs over the years, would specify a cast iron door closer, which was fine. Corbin Russwin always made cast iron door closers, but they required an 1.5 inch diameter piston. They required 10 million cycles. They required a 10-year warranty. Well, Corbin Russwin met most every one of the tenants in that specification. We had a 10-year warranty. We had a cast iron body. However, our piston diameter on our top of the line closer at the time was 1 3/8. So several years ago, we released the 8000 series, which is an 1.5 inch diameter piston. So what happened is our competitor forced us to make enhancements to our product to make it better. We bypassed their 10 million cycles. We went up to 25 million. We raised our warranty. Again, our biggest competitor looked at that and they said, well, they're playing the game. They're doing what we asked them to do. They raised their warranty. We have to raise our warranty as well. So what happens at the end of the day is, because we're forcing each other to improve our product, to improve our backing of our product, the end user gets better products with better warranties. And looking at this closer, this is the one that we would put into a specification. It has what we call a full-featured closer, which has sweep, latch, and back check. We can do any one of the mounts with it, regular, top jam, parallel, or track. Delayed action is available as an option on this closer. We have a plethora of heavy-duty arms that are available for it as well. Where does it sit in the marketplace? We would happily specify this closer with the LCN 4000 series, the Sargent 281 series, the Norton 9500 series. They're all 1.5 bore piston cast iron closers that have been tested well above and beyond that normal 1.5 million cycles. Now, I didn't mention Stanley does not have a domestically produced solution for the industrial type world. We do see sometimes where Stanley will submit their QDC 100 series, which in our opinion does not meet the same requirements. It has not been extended cycle testing. It's an imported closer that is usually sold under other brand names as a retrofit for the LCN 4000, so I would not put that in that same architectural market personally. So that's our premium top of the line door closer, our industrial grade. This is our other premium heavy duty door closer. Was our top of the line industrial grade closer till we brought out the 8000 series. This is our DC 6000. Now this closer is also certified grade 1. It is also cast iron construction. It is also a full feature door closer. The difference between this and the 8000 is the piston diameter. It's an 1 3/8" diameter piston on this closer versus 1.5 inches. We can do the same mounting options as it. We can still do the same heavy duty arms as well. All of our cast iron closers feature that quick install bracket that we showed you in the video. The quick install bracket, for anyone who's ever installed a bunch of cast iron door closers, after the second or third one, holding that 8-pound brick above your head while you're putting 4 screws in can be fatiguing. Putting that bracket on and then allowing you to put those couple screws in to hold it in place makes the install so much easier. So again, we used to put this closer up against the LCN 4000, but because we've got a new industrial closer as of 8 years ago, this closer has been moved into our architectural position. So the LCN 1400, the Stanley D4550 is comparable. Stanley is cast aluminum versus cast iron. You have your opinions on cast iron versus cast aluminum door closers. I'm sure I have mine. ASSA ABLOY sells both. Whichever one works best for your application, please use. But this closer's been tested to 25 million cycles. This closer has a 25-year warranty on it, just like our 8000. So this one, for an architectural closer, is well above and beyond. It meets industrial grade as well. Our DC 3000 series closer is basically the same body footprint as the DC 6000. It's been tested above 15 million cycles, 15-year warranty on this closer. Now, this one is more for that middle of the road type work, not industrial, not architectural. This can get into that design build. The difference between the body of this closer and the 6000, the 6000 has an additional adjustment, which is called back check positioning. So you have your back check valve, you have your sweep, and your latch. This back check positioning allows you to adjust where that back check kicks in. The 3000 series does not have that. So we have some options. And the closer cover is a little bit different between the 3000 and the 6000, but we can give you an optional cover for the 3000 to match the 6000 as well. So there are options. So when we look at our door closer nomenclature, everything starts with DC for door closer. We talk about our mountings first. Well, our series is our 32 for for our 3200, our 62 for our 6200, our 64 is our 6200 but factory sized. And we're going to talk about the size of the door closer. The adjustment of that spring on a door closer would be different for a parallel arm versus a track. And it's all based on the location of the door, the mount of the closer, the size of the door. So all of that would have an effect on how many turns you put on that spring. But if you want to buy that closer pre-sized at the factory, that is our 6400 series. All of the other ones, the 32, the 62, the 82, are adjustable from size 1 through 6. The 8200 series, you can order that factory size as well. It would just be an 82, then the next 2 digits, and then you tell us what size. The last digit would tell you the size. So the third digit of the closer after the series, a 0 would tell us it's regular arm. A 1 is parallel arm. That 1 is also for a tri-pack closer. The 2 is top jam. The 3 is track mount pull side. The 4 is track mount push side for all the closers. The last digit, if it's a 0, it is adjustable in the field from 1 to 6. If it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that is adjusted at the factory to that size. And if you buy a sized closer, the spring is designed for that size, you have an adjustability up one size and down one size. There are still specifications out there that call for size closers. So what we're showing you there is a 3200. There is a 6210. There is a 6220. And there are 8230 and 8240 respectively. So that third digit would tell you the mounting. But if you order from the factory a DC 8210 or a 6210 with our standard arm, it will come tri-pack. So let's take a look at some of the options that we can do with the door closers. We can do our standard arm. We also have a hold open arm. That's a friction hold open. That's what you see at the top. I'm not a big fan of the friction hold opens. I believe that they can absolutely be put into hold open by mistake by forcing the door open too far. The mechanism is a friction mechanism and it can wear out over time. When we look into the specification world, I'm going to compare the arms to the LCN arms because LCN writes a lot of specifications and everyone's familiar with them. They have a heavy-duty parallel arm, which they call their EDA or extra duty arm. That's our A2 and A3. Our A2 has hold open, our A3 does not. Our A4 and A5 arms are our heavy-duty, what we call our backstop arms. Their backstop arms are their cush. So their cush arm is our A3 and A4. We can do that with hold open, without hold open. And we look at the A6 and A8 are for top jam mounts for deep reveal. We also offer that heavy duty rigid arm in a regular mount as well. That's our A10. Now, those of you who are familiar with LCN, we did not talk about their spring cush arm. What they do is their dead stop arm has a bumper spring mechanism in there that, again, cushions the opening. Corbin Russwin doesn't do anything exactly like that. Corbin Russwin utilizes something that we consider as superior to that. That is our Unitrol type arm. And that gives you the features of a dead stop as well as the mechanics of an overhead stop as well. So you have the dead stop arm and the overhead stop as well. And if you're looking at the bottom picture here, that is our parallel arm Unitrol type mount. And we can do that with or without hold open. If you look on the edge here, there's where the dead stop is. And the stop mechanism is also here at the soffit bracket, where there's a spring-loaded mechanism in there. Again, this is the heaviest duty, heaviest abuse arm that Corbin Russwin makes. That one is handed. That one is sized. You have to tell us the size of the door as well, so we make sure that the arm is constructed in such a way it's not adjustable like our standard arms are. Again, remember, if you're going to do hold open, you can't do mechanical hold open on a fire rated opening. So that is the Corbin Russwin DC rack and pinion type door closers. And if you remember a couple minutes ago, I told you that the track mount is the absolute least efficient method for a rack and pinion door closer. So we're going to change this up on you a little bit. I'm going to show you a specific door closer that Corbin Russwin offers that's unique in the market that will allow you to meet ADA. And the funny thing about that closer, it is only available in track mount. Our DC 5000 series, that's what we call our cam action door closer. It is a heavy duty grade 1 closer. It's made of cast aluminum instead of cast iron. It's only available track mount, push side or pull side. And the design of this closer, the internal workings of this door closer, it's designed with 2 separate spindles, one on each side of, instead of our geared spindle that we have, we use an ellipse or an egg-shaped or a heart-shaped cam. And that cam pushes against the pistons and moves it back and forth. The end of each piston has a roller bearing which integrates against that cam, which makes it a very fluid, very smooth transition. And I'll show you a video that shows you the design of that cam. As you're actually operating that door, as you're opening it, because of the shape of the cam being kind of a heart-shaped, as you open it, it gets easier to open. And as it comes closed, even though we're losing spring power, we have springs on both sides, but as it comes closed, there is a end of that cam that has a little detent in it that gives you a little extra boost for closing cycle. So that allows you to meet ADA when you have to adjust that to 5 pounds force. So let's take a look at the video here.
The Corbin Russwin DC 5000 Cam Action Door Closer features a revolutionary design that combines the aesthetics of a track-type closer with superior performance. Our cam action closers are incredibly efficient. The secret is this unique cam assembly. Closing forces are applied to the spindle through the continuously smooth surface of the cam and roller bearing follower. The combination of the piston and cam design greatly increases efficiency. The results are astonishing. On doors equipped with cam action closers, the strength required to pull the door open remains easy throughout the entire opening range. On doors using a rack and pinion closer with a track, the effort required to open the door rises exponentially as the door is opened. There's also a difference in how each door will close. The cam action closer applies a consistent amount of force across the entire closing range, and the closing force actually rises at the last moment, right when the door needs extra force to set the latch. The force of a rack and pinion closer with track decreases as the door closes, providing the least amount of force at latch. Simply put, the Corbin Russwin DC 5000 Cam Action Door Closer is the most efficient surface-mounted door closer on the market today. This means that a door equipped with this closer will feel light to open, yet still have plenty of power to overcome light stack pressure or other problems at latch. Corbin Russwin Cam Action Technology, combining the very best in aesthetics, performance, and innovation.
So this cam action door closer is unique to Assa Abloy. Sargent has this closer, Norton has this door closer, Corbin Russwin has this door closer. If it's something that is important to an owner or to an architect, there is one other company. Bhma has the TS93 door closer. They manufacture that in Germany. It's an imported product, but it is also cam action, and it helps to meet that ADA requirement. LCN does not offer anything in the cam action world. Stanley has nothing in the cam action world, so know that there is another solution out there. Let's take a look at some of the notable options. All of our arm codes start with A. Any specialty arm would have an A. Torque screws, M04, just like all the other products that you're using torque screws. M54 for our through bolts, just like our exit devices. Through bolts are M54 there. Delayed action, M51. For a full metal cover, we use a plastic or an ABS type cover. If you want a full metal cover, some architects specify that. If you're going to plate the door closer, you need a full metal cover. That's an M73 option. We offer corrosion protection in the LCN world. That is what they call SRI, Special Rust Inhibitive Primer. That's our M75. Now, we have what we call our security package. If you're using something in a detention or light prison application, our security package gives us our metal cover, our security screws, and then one of those special arms. You can specify which arm, obviously, you want. That is our M87 package. And we had someone ask in a previous session, is it cheaper to buy the M87 or buy the individual components? It's pretty much a wash. It's more of a convenience thing for the customer, having to add one option versus three. Again, looking at our nomenclature, we always start with the closer series, DC 32, 52, 62, 64, 82. Then the mount. Notice that the 5200 is only available with the 30 or 40 because that is our track mount. For our standard closer, tri-pack is standard. The A1, the A2, the A3, specialty arms, all A codes. Our finishes, we can do it in prime coat. We can do it in 689, which is silver, 690, 691, 693, which goes from gold to light bronze to dark bronze. Our handing, if it's a specialty arm, for the Unitrol especially, it's handed, and then our options are at the end. So we build them out that way. I think now is a good time to go ahead and take our top of the hour break. It's a little bit early, but if this all works out right, we'll get you guys out of here even earlier. Let's go ahead and take our 10. All right, let's take a look at a few of the electromechanical door controls that Corbin Russwin offers. We mentioned earlier that we could not use a hold open or a mechanical hold open device on a fire rated opening. However, these products will allow us to use a hold open mechanism, electrified, that's tied into the fire alarm system, so that upon loss of building power or fire alarm, the closer will then go closed. The first one here is a DC 46900 series. You notice it follows that same pattern with Corbin Russwin, where there's an 8 or a 9 in the middle between the series and the function. So our DC 46900 can be mounted on the push side or the pull side. You'll notice that the arm sticks off the face of the door. You have a separate box for the closer and a separate box for the electronics. That could be an eyesore to some. It works very well. You can adjust the actual holding force of the closer. You can adjust the hold open from 85 degrees to 180 degrees without retemplating the device. So this gives you that multi-point hold open type product. The electronics are going to be in the head mounted portion version, and the closer is obviously on the door itself. We offer this with both AC or DC voltage power options. It would tie into your smoke system, your fire alarm, or your security system, or all three. And then upon loss of power, or the building goes into an alarm situation, the door would then go closed. That's our 46900 series. That product is a product that we share with a sister company, Rixson. That is the I believe it's called the one push version. Our DC 62900, again, that 9 tells us it's electromechanical, takes our 6000 series door closer and has an electromechanical track mount. Inside that track mount is a solenoid operated detent that will allow that to stay in hold open until the fire alarm goes off or the power goes off. We also make this as an option with an integral smoke detector. That can be used only if approved by the authority having jurisdiction. There is some adjustability to the hold open, but you would need to then retemplate the location of the track and the closer on the door for extremes. It's only available from 85 to 110 degrees, works on both AC or DC voltage. This is built around the DC 6000 series, which is our heavy-duty cast iron closer. So these two products will allow you to take a normal door closer and add hold open to it on a fire rated door. Okay, let's keep going forward. We're going to do some part number and pricing exercises on a couple door closers. Let's take a look at a institutional grade, 1.5" piston diameter, parallel heavy duty arm with delayed action, with through bolts, a metal cover, and a silver finish. That silver finish, I'm going to assume, is a painted finish, 689 finish. So let's go ahead and get our catalog out. Our series, because it's an 1.5" diameter piston, would be a DC 82 10 series. 10 tells us it's parallel arm. We're going to use the A3, which is our heavy duty parallel arm. Delayed action is M71. Our cover is M73. Our through bolts are M54. Our finish is 689. Our handing, left hand or right hand. Because we added a metal cover, our metal covers are handed. Our plastic or ABS covers have a knockout or an insert in them, depending on the product, and can be used with left or right hand. Our metal cover does not have that availability, so you have to order it properly handed. So there's one instance where you would have a handed closer. Part number looks like that. Our DC 8210, A3, 689, by the handing, M54, M71, M73. So let's go ahead and price this closer. We will jump into our price book. I believe we're on page 333. That is our DC 8200. And we look in the left column. We will find our DC 8210, which is our parallel arm. All of our painted finishes, including black suede powder coat and white suede powder coat, are the same. So that's $5.99 for the base closer itself. Now we need to find the upcharge for the arms. That will be on the next page on 334. We look at 334. Here's our arm options. This is a condensed version of it. Our heavy-duty A3 arm adds $47 per closer. Now we need to find the upcharges for the through bolts and the metal cover and the delayed action. Those options are going to be listed on page 335. We look for our through bolts, M54. With the closer, it's no charge. Let's take a look at the delayed action, M71, adds $44 per closer. Our full metal cover is M73, which adds $18 per closer. So adding those to it, your base closer goes from $5.99 up to $708. Let's take a look at one more closer here. This is a regular arm, architectural grade closer. We want to hold open on it. We want corrosion protection and a 689 finish. Corrosion protection on a pull side mount closer. I'm wondering where this is mounted. It might be an area that's subject to chlorine or something like that that could degrade the finish. So we're going to put our special rust inhibiting primer on it. So let's walk through our series. It's a DC 6200 series. Our arm was an A1 hold open. That's our friction hold open type arm. Our corrosion protection is M75. Our handing, it's field reversible. We didn't ask for any special cover or anything, so we're going to get the plastic cover. Our finish is 689. So our part number looks like this. DC 6200 A1 689 M75. So now we're going to go to the 6000 series. That is on page 329. We find the closer model in the left column. Across that row for regular arm, it's $464. Now we need to find the options for the arm and the corrosion protection. 335 has the upcharges. The hold open arm, A1, is $74. Our option for the corrosion protection is $42. Adding that to our closer, it brings that list price up from $464 up to $580. Do we have any questions on the door closers? Is corrosion protection available on all closers? Yes, it should be. It is a special rust inhibited primer. And if you're using a cast iron closer with a steel arm, that's a really good idea. Good question. What is the heaviest duty Corbin Russwin closer series? We tricked a few people with that DC 9000 because it's the highest number. You'd think that would be the highest closer. Our DC 8000 is our industrial grade closer. Which is the least efficient for standard rack and pinion closers? That's track mount. Which closer is designed to help meet ADA? That's our DC 5000. And our last question is, what is the warranty on the DC 8000 series closer? That was 25 years. So there was a good splay of answers between the students. If you have any questions on the warranties and things like that, you can reach out to us and ask. Do we have any questions before we move into auxiliary locks? All right, let's go ahead and take a look at Corbin Russwin's products, our push pulls, deadlocks, miscellaneous, other keyed items. Corbin Russwin does offer a complete line of padlocks and deadbolts. They're designed to integrate with our key systems. We have push-pull sets for medical facilities, for doors that require push-pull function, but yet positive latching. We have behavioral health products that are part of this that are designed to offer different levels of patient care needs. But why padlocks? Why deadlocks? Why do we make so many different pieces there? The object is we don't want an owner to have to carry a key ring bigger than their head. Say they have gates on the outside of the perimeter of the building and they wanted to secure them. If they didn't get the padlocks from us, they would have to buy them from a third party and have a separate key. This could integrate that into the same master key system. And likewise with these other products. Let's go ahead and jump into each one. Corbin Russwin has a couple different styles of tubular deadbolts. Our DL 2200 and our DL 3200 series. The 3200 is our grade 1. The 2200 is our grade 2. Both of those feature a 1-inch throw steel deadbolt with a hardened steel pin insert. The hardened steel pin insert inside of it is rounded so that if you try to cut through it, you're going to hit that round steel insert, the hardened steel. It's going to spin, which makes it harder to cut. They're available with either 2 3/4 or 2 3/8 back set. They are non-handed. They are designed for an 1 3/4 door thickness standard. And we're going to talk about the functions that are available. We show you the picture of the functions in the bottom right, and let's discuss the functions themselves. We offer a double cylinder, which has a key on the outside, a key on the inside. Both of them project and retract the bolt. We have a single cylinder with a thumb turn on the inside, where the key on the outside projects and retracts. The thumb turn on the inside projects and retracts. We offer that with a blank on the inside, where it's just a key only. The ones with the blank on one side could not be used in an area that's occupied by people. So the 11 function is the single cylinder by blank, would be used on a perhaps a storage closet, an area not occupied by people, something that wouldn't fit people. It could also be used in communicating doors in hotels where you have the doors that are back to back that allows you to open them up and make one big suite out of 2 rooms. Our classroom function, a 17 function, is our classroom function where you have a cylinder on the outside that projects and retracts the deadbolt. However, the cylinder or the thumb turn on the inside only retracts the bolt, it does not project it. So think about public restrooms and things like that. You don't want someone to be able to go in and lock themselves in, lock other people out. However, if they're in there and facilities comes through and locks that door on the outside, you need to be able to get out from the inside, hence the classroom thumb turn on it. The 60 function is a thumb turn by blank. And you'll notice the function numbers still follow that Corbin Russwin format. The 2 at the end signifies 2 cylinders. The 1, the 3, and the 7 signify 1 cylinder. The 0 signifies 0 cylinders. Kind of unique. So let's go ahead and talk about the keying and what we can actually do with that. The 2200 and the 3200 utilize our component cylinder. It's a conventional 4400 series cylinder. We can do our Access 3 patented security and high security keying. We can do our pyramid. We can do our M-Heart security as well. We can give you this lock with a small format interchangeable core housing, a CLS6. In our conventional keyways, as well as our security and patented and high security keyways, we can do a C6 or C7 option for the Access 3, Pyramid, and M-Heart. We can also send it out 0-bitted, which is just a conventional cylinder without any pins and springs in it that the customer could key by themselves. That's our cylindrical type deadbolts, our 22 and our 3200. Corbin Russwin also has another product that is kind of unique. It is a true tubular type deadbolt. That's our DL3000 series. And the difference between this and the other series is this utilizes a Mortis cylinder on both sides. Whereas the other product features a component cylinder with a housing around it. This, the entire cylinder, becomes part of the housing. You have, similar to the construction of the T-zone type lock, the 3100, where you have a bearing assembly in the inside that works this, a very, very similar way, where you have the latch bolt engaged through that assembly, and the cylinders themselves would then screw into the assembly, and they're held in place by a set screw. The same basic functions. The 12 function is a double cylinder. The 13 function is our single cylinder. Our 11 function is our single cylinder by blank. Our 17 function is our classroom. It retracts, does not project. And our 60 function is our thumb turn by blank. Again, the difference between this one and the other one is it uses a conventional Mortis type cylinder. If you don't specify, you'll get a 1000-118, which is 1 1/8 inch length, by A03, which is the cam that's required for this particular lock. We can do our Access 3, our Pyramid, our M-Heart. We can do a small format housing. We can do our large format interchangeable core products with our conventional as well as our other products. We can provide this less cylinder, but I will warn you, if you're going to put a competing manufacturer's cylinder into this lock, you have to make sure that they provide an A03 style cam. So those are our cylindrical and tubular type deadlocks. Let's talk about mortise deadlocks. Now, we can do deadlock functions with our standard ML2000 series, but there's also a need out there for that smaller baby style mortise lock. It is a much smaller height prep in the opening. That is our DL4000 series, DL4100 to be specific. And that utilizes a 1-inch throw, steel deadbolt, also has a hardened steel pin insert in it as well. But this deadbolt is what we call a laminated stacked deadbolt, where there's actually multiple pieces of steel fastened and laminated together to create strength and hide the hardened steel insert inside of it. Also utilizes a 2 3/8 back set. It is non-handed, designed for an 1 3/4 door thickness. The same basic functions. The 12 is our double cylinder. Our 13 is our single cylinder with thumb turn. Our 11 is our single cylinder with blank. Our 17 is our standard classroom. Our 60 is our thumb turn by blank. But with this mortise type, we can also do what we call a 22 function, which is a double cylinder classroom. What that double cylinder classroom allows you is the cylinder on the outside that locks and unlocks, retracts and projects the bolt. The thumb turn on the inside only retracts, does not project. And again, we heard from owners, they said, we like to be able to lock these doors when we're in there cleaning or if we're fixing things. If we go inside, we can't turn that thumb turn and lock people out. However, with the cylinder on the inside, the cylinder on the inside projects and retracts that bolt as well. So we have that ability that facilities could go in there while they're working, lock the door so nobody else can come in. That's what that 22 function means. And again, there's 2 cylinders, so it has a 2 at the end. They're very, very consistent with that. Cylinder options, because it's a mortise cylinder, it's a conventional 1000 1 1/8 with an A07 cam. So there's a different cam. There are different cams for the mortise cylinders based on the application. We can do all of our patented security and high security keying as well. Interchangeable core, we can also do the small format housing. We can also supply it less cylinder. Again, sometimes when we're doing jobs that people are doing the small format best style core, they will ask us to do it less cylinder. Well, you have to make sure that they have a cam that works for that A07. Otherwise, you can do the CLS 6 option, which will give you a Corbin Russwin housing with the proper cam that you can put that best core into. Looking at the part number sequencing for the deadlocks, it starts with our series, then function number, then finish, then options, then keying. So looking at that part number there, DL, deadlock. 41 tells us that's the mortise, small footprint mortise. The 12 tells you it's a double cylinder function. 605 is a polished brass finish. D214 is a door thickness, 2 1/4 inch. ACP is for Access 3, patented. The C tells us it's interchangeable core. It's just that easy. We're going to move from the deadbolts now to our padlocks. Corbin Russwin has 1 series of padlocks that we offer. That's our PL 5000 series. And the part number will change based on the type of shackle that you're using. That's the part that goes through the hole to lock the opening. We have hardened steel shackles. We have brass shackles. We have stainless steel shackles. And again, they will be used for specific applications. The hardened steel shackle is obviously the strongest. That is the one that's going to resist the cutting or chopping. The brass shackle will resist rusting. The hardened steel shackle will not resist rusting. The stainless steel gives you kind of the best of both worlds, where you have a stronger shackle that is a little bit rust resistant. The padlocks themselves all utilize a satin brass extruded case. We can do two different lengths of our shackle. You can either have a 7/8 of an inch between the top of the lock and the top of the shackle, or the bottom of the shackle, or 2 5/8. We can give you an optional 9-inch chain. It's an M44 option. That, again, if you take a padlock off and you put it in your pocket, you could walk away with it. With that chain, it's going to stay attached to whatever you attached it to, so you can't lose it. We offer these in fixed core and interchangeable core as well. And you'll see the part number changes based on a few things, and we'll talk about those here in a minute. Another unique thing, I talked about this whenever we were doing our key stamping on Tuesday. We can do custom die stamping as well. If an owner wanted to have their logo on their padlock, we could do that. They would have to pay for the stamping, but we would happily do that. That's the M45 option. And the cylinder that we use typically for our conventional would be our 2300 series, which is a component type cylinder. You'll notice that picture shows it looks like a interchangeable core. That is not an interchangeable core. The component cylinder fits in there, and that piece actually is what locks it into place. We can do our Access 3, our Pyramid, our M-Heart. We can also do our large format interchangeable core options. The only thing we don't offer is small format with this. So you would order it, your part number, by your shackle length, by your options. So we have a PL 5080, that's a PL 5000 series. The 80 tells us it's interchangeable core. 258 tells us 2 5/8 inch shackle. The M44 was an option. That gives us the 9-inch chain. Any questions on our auxiliary lock products? All right. I would like to poll the class. You can type your answer via chat, or you can unmute yourself and answer. But I'd like some participation with this one. Can you use any one of our deadlocks on a fire-rated door? Thank you for your participation. The answer, it was kind of a trick question. I said, can you use a deadlock on a fire-rated door? And we had a no, and we had some yeses. The answer is you can use a deadlock as an auxiliary lock as long as you have a fire-rated latch mechanism as the main source of latching. The deadlock is considered an auxiliary lock. And there are also egress reasons you'd have to check as well. Doors and a means of egress, you couldn't have that lock on because that would require 2 different motions to get out. So yes, you could theoretically use it in a fire-rated door as long as it's not in a means of egress and as long as it's not the main latching mechanism. Thank you guys for your participation. Let's go ahead and jump into Corbin Russwin's behavioral health products. Corbin Russwin offers several different products for different levels of use. And notice we call our products behavioral health. We do not call them anti-ligature. We do not call them ligature resistant. Reason being, main reason is there are no BHMA ANSI standards for behavioral health pertaining to latches and handles yet. That's something that is in the works. However, we fall back on two different authorities that write codes into behavioral health. One of them is NAPHS. That's the National Association of Psychiatric Health Systems. And the other one, which is probably more widely known, is OMH, the Office of Mental Health for New York State. OMH actually does very deep testing on everyone's materials. They print a booklet every year of OMH approved product. And the picture that I'm showing you there with the red, the yellow, and the green is their requirements. Once products have been tested, they could be approved, they could be disapproved. If someone figures a way to overcome a piece of hardware that hasn't been modified, it could move from the high risk to the do not use. So bear in mind that there are different products based for different applications. And being that OMH is the standard bearer, we're going to talk about how our products line up. The high risk is the areas where the patients are unsupervised. Bedrooms, patient toilet rooms, seclusion rooms, areas where there's not staff there regularly. The medium risk area, that's where patients are controlled in supervised areas, living rooms, common spaces, dining rooms, group rooms. You can use those products with caution. And then when you get to the green zone there, that's the low risk areas where patients constantly supervised. You don't have to worry about somebody harming themselves. Back of house areas, areas where there's not regularly patients, clean and soiled utility rooms, things like that. Again, still used with caution based on the application, based on the use of the room. And Corbin Russwin has 4 different behavioral health options based on what requirements are. So let's go ahead and walk through each one of these. We're going to start in our low risk, our main product that actually we use in healthcare, not just behavioral healthcare. That is our HPSK lever, which is a push-pull latch. We offer this latch in a tubular version as well as a Mortis version. It is ADA compliant because there's no tight grasping or pinching. However, it's designed for that low risk area because you have a separate escutcheon and a separate lever. And through testing, they were able to maybe get something in behind there. They could cause harm to themselves. So we would not recommend using this, especially most assuredly if you mount it upside down. You could mount it horizontal like we're showing with the paddle facing down or the paddle facing up. With the paddle facing up, there is a ligature point. With the paddle facing down, there could be possibility. So we make this tubular in 2 functions. We make it Mortis in 40 different functions. 32D finish is the only finish that we offer this in as a standard. Again, it's designed for those light, low-risk areas, normal healthcare, doctors, clean rooms where they wash their hands. They can use the push-pull to navigate through the opening. That's our HPSK. Taking a look further up that continuum here to our medium risk areas, the patients are supervised regularly. We do have a HSS knob and a BLSS lever. Bear in mind that the knob, the HSS, does not meet ADA, Americans with Disabilities Act. The lever does. The newest configuration of this lever is actually freewheeling when locked. The original version was rigid And we found that the freewheeling, again, assists us in our ability to make that a better behavioral health product. The knobs and the levers overlap the rows, so you don't have the ability to get something in there behind. We make these in Mortis lock configurations only. 50 different functions, including electrified. The finish available is 32D only. If you needed something different, you'd probably have to talk to the factory to see if they could accomplish that goal. This brings us to our top end of our behavioral health products. These have been tested by OMH and have gone through their approval process. Again, it varies year by year. They retest things every year. I know one of our sister companies that has something similar to this had an issue with their thumb turn, and the OMH, the 1 year they said, we don't like the thumb turn. We redesigned the thumb turn. The following year, it was allowed. Again, these are designed for those higher risk areas. Mortis lock configuration only. And what this is a cast stainless steel escutcheon and lever. If you look at the way that lever sits, it's already at a 45-degree position, so it's hard to stand or hang or tie anything to. The lever is solid from the front to the back, so there's not anything to loop around. And on the back of that lever, if you look at the design of the escutcheon behind it, the back of that lever where it rotates down, when it rotates down, there is a plate that's a part of that lever that follows the path of the lever down and then back up, so you can't get anything in behind that lever. Again, this would be for our high risk type products. 32D finish only, Mortis lock only. And I would caution everybody here from using the word anti-ligature or ligature resistant, because making a claim like that opens yourselves up to the possibility of lawsuits from somebody whose family got hurt. They said, your product said it could do this. Your set said it was that. That's why we use the behavioral health. Once Ansi BHMA releases a common standard, we'll test to that. And then based on the Ansi requirements, then we'll be able to call it what Ansi calls it. So those are our 4 configurations for our behavioral health products. We do not offer this BHSS lever in a tubular lock. We've had requests. That may come someday. And if it does, we will ballyhoo it. But for current versions, it's only available in the Mortis. So before we wrap up, I told you I'd get you out of here a little early today. I wanted to talk about some unique positions that Corbin Russwin has, some of the things that we can do that separate us from the crowd. First of them being our custom laser engraving. This is something that in Assa Abloy, only Corbin Russwin can do. I'm not familiar with other brands that are offering this as well. What we can do is put a name, a logo, door numbers, things like that on several of the different products. Our standard Armstrong, Citation, Newport, and Princeton levers, there's a spot on there for that. We can do our 102, 103, 125 Museo levers. Our M escutcheon for our ML2000. Our push pads on our ED 4000 and 5000. Our escutcheon trims on our 9000 series exit trim. Our paddles on our HPSK. And what that does is when you laser engrave, it basically burns that material away. And you're left with the substrate behind it. And on stainless steel, it kind of looks blackened. And there's a process. If an owner wants to put a logo, it has to be their company or their facility logo. If you're a big fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers, you can't say I want the Pittsburgh Steelers logo on my paddles unless you are part of the Pittsburgh Steelers organization and you have approval on letterhead to do such. You have to provide that information to us in a specific form. There is a information sheet that we can give you if it's something that someone's interested in. And note the engraving, again, is not color filled. It shows up black against most substrates. but it's something that, again, sets us apart from a lot of our competitors. Another thing that ASSA ABLOY as a whole can do is our custom decorative hardware program. I talked about our good design studio, our Museo. Well, we can take that one step above. What we're showing you here on the bottom left, is our Museo levers that are working with our door pulls here. But the customer wanted a special insert, a special custom color. We did that. In that center bottom picture, we're showing you that same insert on a handle, a pull, and we made the hinge corresponding with it. Again, that's something that we can do that most of our competitors can't. The top right is showing a unique request that we had. They wanted copper. Rather than bronze or brass, they wanted a copper finish. We can do that. That was a custom job. If you get to the Corbin Russwin factory, when you come in the front doors from our vestibule into the facility, we actually have some working versions of that copper that we are putting to a beta test and beating around a little bit, see how it holds up. Our top center and our top left shows you our custom hardware. We've had customers request, architects or end users saying, hey, I like the design of this lever, but I want it to look a little bit different. Can you make that for me? Yes, we do have a process for new lever designs. That one at the top left was a custom special for a specific end user. This other one here, the owner wanted, rather than a flat lever, he wanted it to raise up and still return. We made that custom for them. So it comes to us in the form of a sketch. We will draw it up, look at the preliminary drawings to make sure it will work, and we will send out a sample, something that we probably 3D printed, to show the owner, is this the look you want? Is this the design that you want? And then on approval, we would then manufacture those custom levers to the owner's requirements in the owner's specific finish. Again, the colors, we can color match anything with powder coat. We can do special finishes, which we're showing you that copper in the top right. So the industry is leaning back towards customization. I remember years ago when I first got into distribution, I had my catalog, and you could get a knob lock that the knob was the face of a lion with a beautiful rosette behind it. And all that kind of disappeared through the 90s, the late 90s, the early aughts, when the manufacturer started saying, no, we're going to tell you what you want. We make these 8 levers and that's all you get. Well, because the customer's always right, we had to adapt the other way and say, you know what, maybe we can do this. And we've developed an entire suited collection in our Good Design Studio, as well as our Deco lever programs, as well as our Deco hinge programs. All of them are designed to meet those special requirements. And ASSA ABLOY as a company can provide complete suited solutions, which we think is kind of cool. Do we have any questions? We're going to open the floor up to questions at this point. I'll give you guys a couple minutes to type or to ask, and go from there.